Good morning, Undefeated. What's going on? Good morning to you. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you so much for starting your week off right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Please let me know where you're coming from inside the comment box. And I want to get to it right away. Type G if you were excited about Alabama landing Graham Nicholson. Type G inside the comment box if you were excited about Graham coming to Alabama. Okay? He was the 2023 Lou Groza Award winner. Remember when Will Reichard, we said, was robbed, which I still feel that he was robbed along with Coach Saban in terms of the Coach of the Year award. This was the young man who did it, okay? Last season at Miami of Ohio, he was 27 of 28 when hitting field goals. Okay, that's a wicked percentage. I think it comes out to like 94%. So with adding Graham Nicholson, and what we've seen Coach Kalen DeBoer do is address immediate needs from the jump. I said it. If you guys follow me on my YouTube shorts, I said this last week. After Alabama's spring football game, it was clear, it was apparent that Alabama, their weakest link was the kicking position. 1,000,000%. I saw it. You saw it too. And look, this isn't disrespect to Connor Talty or any of the kickers that are on the roster. It's just that area needed experience. So type G if you're excited about Graham Nicholson coming to Alabama. His longest last year was 52 yards. And I think so far, honestly, I think this is the biggest win in the transfer portal, not only for Alabama, but I think overall in NCAA football. 1,000,000%. And here's why. You know what's coming back for Alabama's offense, 1,000,000%. You just don't know how it's going to look under Coach Kalen DeBoer. We didn't really see much during A-Day, which is fine. This is how it operates, right? Jalen Milroe's coming back. Finished, sixth in the Heisman Trophy. You know the running backs that are coming back. You know they're going to give it to you. You know the wide receivers are elite. You understand that as well. Offensive line, you probably have some question marks, but you understand that Caden Proctor's coming back. On the defense, you know that the defense has two of the most dangerous inside linebackers in college football. You're wondering about the secondary, right? How is it going to shape out? You're wondering about Kane Womack. But you didn't understand what was going to happen within the secondary, within the special teams. And for whatever reason, we don't talk about the special teams a lot. If Alabama didn't have Will Reichard last year, they're in a completely different situation. That guy came back with a vengeance. He came back to become the all-time leading scorer in college football, 1,000,000%. He was pissed off for greatness. Will Reichard was. Replacing him was challenging. It was going to be challenging for anybody who retook that spot. So going into the transfer portal and not just landing any single kicker, landing the Lou Groza Award winner. Like, stand back and kind of zoom out to who he's bringing. That would be bringing the Bolitnikoff Award winner or the Chuck Bednard Award winner. Like, this is massive. Biggest news happened for Alabama inside the transfer portal with picking up Graham Nicholson. I love it. So if you're just checking in, type G if you're excited about Graham joining Alabama. And don't forget this. Now Alabama's special teams, I think it's elite. You bring in Graham Nicholson, okay? And guess what? Guess who your punter is? And let's give him his flowers. And you know what? I was sad that we didn't get to see one punt from him during the springtime, and that's James Burnap, okay? That's James Burnap. James Burnap, in my opinion, is the best punter that Alabama has had since J.K. Scott. And there hasn't been that many, but James Burnap is quality, more than quality. I think that he could be one of the best punters in all of college football this coming season. So your punter's taking it. That guy flipped the field so many times for Alabama, and he only got better and better, okay? All right, so you guys have emojis, right? If you were excited about James Burnap coming back, give me a little Australian flag inside the comment box. I thought it was hilarious. Remember the couple times that he went to Outback? I love it, man. That kid is so underrated. It's a travesty. James Burnap is super, super underrated. Throw a Australian flag inside the comment box if you're excited about him coming. Okay. This was huge, and I want to take your calls in just a minute. I want to get this out, though. Alabama's special teams now considered elite. Love it. Okay. Also, on the basketball front, I was walking through the neighborhood the other day. I was talking about football a little bit, but honestly, the excitement about college basketball, Alabama basketball, is prevalent throughout the entire state. People know from across the country, Alabama basketball is here. This wasn't a one-hit wonder. We've talked about that several times. So Aiden Holloway transfers from Auburn, of all places, to Alabama. Love it. So he's an offensive weapon. He's an elite shooter. He had some things to say about the Auburn basketball program. Look, I think overall, and you can look up the record, undefeated. I need your help. I need your help right now. What is the record right now for Nate Oates against Bruce Pearl on the hardwood? Give me the record, okay? Aiden Holloway, look, he's a big-time player. He's coming in. I don't know what is going to happen with Mark Sears, okay? He declared for the NBA, but he still maintains his college eligibility. So when you look to Chris Youngblood coming in from South Florida, who's a guard, you got Houston Mallet, who's coming in from Pepperdine. He's a guard as well. You have Aiden Holloway. He's a guard. You have Mark Sears. We don't know what's going to happen with Grant Nelson yet. I would imagine goes to the NFL, the NBA. I don't know. Can't forget about Jaron Stevenson, right? I think that young man is going to play as well. Nick Pringle, he's transferring out. Aaron Estrada out of eligibility. That's fine. Riley Griffin, he's moving on. I was a little bit disappointed that Walters is hitting the transfer portal. I liked him coming off the bench. Whatever the case is, you have elite talent. The Jaron Stevenson dude is elite. And you have other guys on that roster. And Nate Oates has been able to use the transfer portal very well. He's done an elite job. Alabama basketball is here. 6-4, K-Spray, is that right? Nate Oates versus Bruce Pearl. That's pretty incredible. Matthew is saying 3-5. I think it's 6-4. I think he has the edge, right? I thought it was 6-2. Let's go. I need you to figure this. Somebody needs to slam dunk it, okay? I'm looking for the record for Nate Oates versus Bruce Pearl. I think it was 6-2. I think Jim Parker has it 6-3. Hey, if you want to become a fan funder of this YouTube channel, go up to the top of this link. There's a hyperlink that is pinned. As low as $2.99, you can support the product right here on Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate it. It helps me pay the coaches. Today's super chat goal is $175. That is just not only in my segment, but throughout the segments. Special thanks to our sponsors below, residents in Ocean City, Maryland. The Rogue Shop promo code is Bama, and sponsor Demetrius Maynard, viewer just like you who is a sponsor. So we appreciate you guys being here. But Aiden Holloway, I thought it was a really big pickup, and I think signs continue to point that this is the basketball school in Alabama. And look, honestly, since I've lived here, I'll be honest with you, and you might not like this, but I think it's true. I think Alabama basketball, and you know what? You're not going to be upset because it's true. All right, Austin, what's up, man? I see you inside the comment box. 6-3. Nate Oates is 6-3 against Bruce Pearl. Bruce Pearl can coach basketball, okay? But living here in Alabama, and when I first moved here, this is true. Auburn basketball was ahead of Alabama basketball. They were a better program, right? They got to the tournament more frequently. Since Nate Oates has arrived, he has gently turned the tide. And now Alabama is that basketball school, is the football school. 100%. Pretty amazing, man. To think about what Nate Oates has done in such a short time, but he's also captured now the state. Really impressive. Ronald's like, he needs to build a new arena. And I think, and who knows, it could be coming, but it is impressive, right? To think about the short time that he's been able to do, built this Alabama basketball program. I know you're excited about Alabama basketball, so am I. It's amazing to talk about, and rightfully so, to highlight these student athletes that are honestly just completely crushing it. Okay, a couple things that I want to go through, and then I will get to my callers. Okay, do you see Jalen Milroe posted with Michael Jordan in Talladega, right? GOAT meets GOAT. Love it. I mean, how many of you inside the Undefeated have watched The Last Dance? I mean, The Last Dance, I'm not too big on series. I know a lot of people love their own series, but man, The Last Dance is I love it. And Michael Jordan, I think he's I mean, I would say he's probably one of the greatest athletes ever, if not the greatest, right? And a lot of that is just the mentality and the mindset of wanting to win. But I love Jalen Milroe, linking up with Jordan. In fact, it was a bunch of Alabama football players. I saw Kobe Prentice. I saw Jahad Campbell. I saw Malachi Moore. I saw Devontae Smith. All of the starters kind of coming back in Talladega. What's up, Antonio? I see you inside the comment box. Oates is elite, and the new arena will follow this success. 100%. Love it. He's going to do his thing. I love it. I'm like popcorn eating, watching. And when you have Chris Youngblood and Houston Mallett also coming in, man, he's cleaning up on the portal. Before I move from basketball to the mock draft, and then I'm going to take your calls after this, do you feel that this Nate Oates, do you feel that Grant Nelson will go to the NBA, or do you think he's coming back? Grant Nelson. Let me hear your thoughts inside the comment box. Let me know, Undefeated. Grant Nelson coming back, or is he leaving? I think he's leaving. I think the way that he played, he's going to the NBA. We'll see. All right. Real quickly, I want to touch on the mock draft. The NFL draft is coming up this weekend, okay? From The Athletic and from CBS, here is rounds 1 through 7, okay? So they have the Atlanta Falcons taking Dallas Turner at number 8. They have the Chargers taking J.C. Latham at 11. Again, this is from the Athletic. They have the Raiders taking Terrion Arnold at 13. They have Kool-Aid going in the first round of the Jaguars, which I like, at 28. And then you have to zip over to 75, where the Bears would pick up Chris Broswell. Jermaine Burton going 83 to the Rams. The Giants at 183, picking up Justin Eboigbe. And then 201, the Detroit Lions picking up Will Riker. Okay, now CBS Sports has Jace McClellan going at 232 to the Vikings. So first round picks, I think we're safe to say, 4 picks for Alabama football, which is amazing. And that's still under Nick Saban. Okay, so my last thing before I get to my calls, how many first-round draft picks, if Alabama gets 4 first-round draft picks, will have been under Coach Saban at Alabama? First-round draft picks, all right? That's what I'm looking for. In total, first-round draft picks total under Coach Saban if Alabama sends 4 to the NFL draft. Kyle Henderson at Bama Football on YouTube. I appreciate you guys being here. Hit the thumbs up, like, subscribe, and stay tuned for your next video right here on Bama Football on YouTube. All right, that was my AM cut. All right, we go to the phone lines. 256, I believe it is Coach Daryl out in Huntsville. Coach, what's up, man? I appreciate you calling in. Good morning to you.
Doing good, Kyle. How you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. Good to hear from you. I appreciate you joining me this morning. Coach Daryl, I have to ask you, the impact of Graham Nicholson coming to Alabama, it speaks volumes about how Coach Kalen DeBoer has been able to utilize the portal. It speaks volumes about Alabama's brand. Players still want to come to compete at the highest level, whether they're a kicker, wide receiver, quarterback, whatever the case is. But I think overall, this is the biggest pickup in the transfer portal thus far. Coach, your thoughts on Graham Nicholson picking the Alabama Crimson Tide?
One word: unprecedented. I mean, you laid it out. It's just like it would be like a Heisman Trophy quarterback transferring schools, or Biletnikoff, or Butker's Award winner. I mean, you're talking about, even though I'm going to throw a little smudge on this, I thought it should have been real Will Riker, but that's that's under the bridge. We got him now, and of course we know the kicking game is a relevant part of any football team, punting and kicking. And we got the punter, and now we got the best kicker in the nation. So they say. We're gonna see. He's not a long distance guy, but his average is 50 yards, 52 yards, which is fine as long as he's consistent. He doesn't miss. He's doing what he's supposed to do. But his transfer into Alabama through the portal is unprecedented. I mean, I've never seen this before. I don't think anybody else has. So we just hope see a big roll tied to him. Welcome in, come on in and dominate. dominate your position. You dominated it last year, so they said through the votes, let's dominate it here in Alabama.
Hey, Coach, I'm trying to get through a couple calls this morning. Let me ask you one more question before I get to my next caller, which I think is Mike out in Austin. But Aiden Holloway transfers from Auburn to Alabama, but much bigger than that. Alabama basketball, what they've been able to do in the transfer portal under Nate Oates, really impressive. Your thoughts on Aiden Holloway picking Alabama and what Nate Oates has done in the transfer portal?
Well, all I can say is, Mr. Holloway, you better be ready when you go back to Auburn because they're going to eat you alive. But that's huge. And he basically said that he was sold a dream by Nate Oates. And when the season started, it was pretty much they went away from it, and he was sort of unhappy with it. You know, all coaches sell dreams. But you have to be understanding your role on the team and where you're at. And I think he'll be a great addition to us if the guys goes to the draft. I don't think he'll get drafted. Our guard. I don't think he'll get drafted. I don't think the big guy will get drafted. He's from North Dakota. I don't see it. I think they may make the G League, but I don't see them as being drafted in the NBA. Kyle, always my pleasure. I know you got other callers.
All right, man. Appreciate you, Coach Darryl. All right. Thanks so much, man.
All right.
We go from Darryl. I think we go to Mike. Get the free Mike emojis up, fam. Appreciate you guys. Collect call from Mike to accept. Press 1. Beep. Mike, what's up, man?
Good morning, Kyle. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah.
Hey, that's a major pickup, that kicker, because kind of like your previous caller said, this guy's the Lou Graza Award. This guy's the Heisman Trophy winner of kickers. I mean, so and that's a position of need for us. And as in close, I think some of these games are going to be coming up. That's an excellent pickup for Alabama. So definitely a major score on that one. Definitely.
Mike, how many guys go in the NFL draft from Alabama in the first round? You got Dallas Turner, Terran Arnold, Latham, and Kool-Aid, right? That seems about right. What are you looking forward to in the NFL draft this coming weekend?
Well, I see at least 3 people. I see Dallas Turner being NFL ready, but I see at least 3 getting drafted first round, and then Kool-Aid possibly going in the first round. He may slide to the second. I don't know, but there's a real good chance he goes to the first round. But I say overall, since Nick Saban's been at Alabama, now I'm not in front of the Google machine, so I don't know, but I'll say overall Nick Saban probably has about 30 first-round draft picks in the NFL. And I say this year, definitely 3, possibly 4, depending on Kool-Aid.
Yeah, let me ask Undefeated. Undefeated, it's clear. Are we clear that Terran Arnold is 100% going to be drafted ahead of Kool-Aid? We're thinking that, right, Mike? I think so. You think so, Mike?
I think so, yeah. I think so. And this is why I think physically the skills are equal. I just think Terry, he just may be, I don't know, he just may be more approachable. He just may have more heart. And I don't mean that in a bad way. But like I say, I kind of felt all year Kool-Aid was just coasting a little bit.
Yeah.
I think he got his kick returner duties taken away from him. But I thought he was just coasting a little bit. So that's why I say he goes the second cornerback. But it's hard to say how some of these NFL teams will think. I don't know, but he definitely goes at least early in the second round, though. But I think Arnold goes first, though. I think Arnold goes before he does.
Mike, any thoughts on what else is on your mind when we look kind of the board? We talked about the kicker. We talked a little bit about basketball. Jalen Milroe posted up with Michael Jordan. What else is on your mind as we enter, kind of the back end of April now, if you can believe that?
It's we'll get through the summer, Kyle, and football season's going to be right upon us. It's going to be a new day, a new era in college football. The dynasty continues. But what's on my mind is this. The SEC, man, it is brutally tough. And what I mean by that, you got the common suspects, LSU, Alabama, Georgia, all these good teams. But, but what's on my mind, too, is, I see teams like Ole Miss. Some people have them in their preseason ranking as high as 4, which I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I see Ole Miss ranked as high as 4, all the way from 4 to 10. To me, that's a little much, but it's it's just the brutality and how tough some of these schedules are going to be on these teams coming up, and on these games coming up. And I'm predicting, like I mentioned, Kyle, Georgia, they're going to recede a little bit, man. They're going to recede. They're not going to. I mean, I predict them taking 2 regular season losses. You look at their schedule, 2 regular season losses. And one more thing on my mind, Kyle, Colorado Buffaloes and prime time. We all love prime time. I mean, but he's struggling, man. He's struggling, dude. And he's realized big-time college football is a lot different than Jackson State. That's the biggest difference right there. But, Kyle, I'm going to let you go. And just so you know, to all the dads out there, right, if you go to meet your future son-in-law, and if your future son-in-law shows up and he's wearing somebody else's skin on his face and has a bunch of chainsaws in the trunk, red flag, man, just so you know. I'm kidding, man. Kyle, love your show, dude. Y'all take care.
All right, man. Take it easy. All right, Mike. Calling from the Clank in Austin. Appreciate you guys joining me this morning. Kyle Henderson, Bama Football on YouTube. Appreciate you joining us to start out your Monday. Call line is open 205-850-1994. You know, I know you guys were on me about these Red Bulls, so I switched it up. This isn't even coffee, okay? And I was going to drink it in a Mason jar, but I'm not. So this is I boiled 10 cups of water. Then it's ginger. Then it's turmeric. Then it's black pepper, and then it's lemon. So this is my juice that I have for this week. And I started also kind of a new. I know they got on me about the Red Bulls. But then I also started a new weightlifting program. So I'm still going to continue my F3, of course. But also I started kind of a heavy lifting program. So we'll see how that goes. So I will keep you posted on that. What's up, David? I appreciate you, man. I hope Graham, and he's talking about Graham Nicholson, who is transferring from Miami of Ohio to Alabama as a kicker, is a 2023 version next year. He was 75 of 78 kicker in 2 years. Yeah, you know, the thing about it is Alabama certainly, after the spring game, I just wasn't impressed with the kickers. And I get it. They don't have any experience and, you know, they're going to get better at moving forward. But I just think that they needed an experienced kicker. And then who knows? And then Graham Nicholson, I didn't think it'd be him. My goodness. You know, you swing for the fences and that's who you get. So that unit, as I said in my opening, is immediately bolstered in terms of being, you know, pretty much below average to now elite. Because sometimes we forget about James Burnett. Man, that guy is incredible. He flipped the field so many times last year. So now I feel pretty good, right? I guess the only other area that we're looking at is the secondary. So I guess we'll have to see what happens, you know, over the next week. Did you see the spring game, the Texas spring game? I'm surprised we don't have more Longhorn fans in here saying that they're going to, you know, win the national title in the SEC. Because Arch Manning, what did he throw for? He threw for did he throw for 300 yards? Because last, what is it? Do they call it T-Day? What do they call their Texas, in their spring game? The guy, complete the ball out. The hilarious thing is he is 355. Yeah, Arch Manning threw for 355. He's the only guy that you can't play with in the new NCAA football game. I'm sure we'll figure out a way around that. Or they're going to have to just pay him more. Whatever the case is, man, he looked pretty damn good. Okay? I didn't go through the stats beyond that. Did Isaiah Bond catch for anything? And Luke, you're right. They have their starter, right? Josh. They have their starter, and Quinn Ewers coming back. But, Arch looked pretty good. So, and it's just going to take him 1 year to then go to the NFL. So, it was a scripted TD to Bond. Okay, got you. I don't have any news on Caleb Cunningham. I will dig into that, Michael. What's up? Good morning. I appreciate you. He caught a touchdown pass from Arch. Well, Jeremy, I saw this was hilarious. I saw this. So Florida State got rings, right? But weren't the rings for winning the ACC, or were they for going undefeated. What did the ring say? Because I glanced on that and I knew that they would do something like that. Like if they would have won, my goodness, if they would have beat Georgia, we would have seen that. We would have seen what they would have had a parade. Remember when Central Florida won, right? A couple years ago. No, that was a long time ago. When they went undefeated and they had like a parade and declared themselves the national championships, right? What's up, Mr. Yelder? Yeah, the guy wants more money to be on a video game. I don't know if he wants, like, that's the only reason, because Arch Manning is opted out of being in that video game, right? When all the other players got whatever. I know that Jalen Miro got paid like a hefty amount. So I'm sure they're probably still talking, and I'm sure he'll get paid more. I have no idea. I'm sure it would be a ton. Ronnie Jones is like, next man up. Not worried about it. Yeah, 100%. You look to the wide receivers. I mean, Jeremy Bernard had a really nice spring game. He's doing work. You look to Kobe Prentice coming back. Kendrick Law, loved how they utilized him. Not worried about the wide receivers at all. Manuel Henderson, he's going to get his, right? So, yeah, I feel Alabama's in a really strong position at the wide receiver position. I think still guys, have to prove themselves, but overall, I think that's a really strong area. Jor, what's up, man? Jor is saying On3 is predicting Dawson Merritt to Bama. Yeah, I think this will be a really good month for Alabama to pick up recruiting, and I think it probably add more recruits. I think you had 6 in March. What do you have? 2 so far in April. You're gonna probably add on like 4 more. So that'll be another 6. I think they finished out with I still, honestly, that the Latier Brooks, his highlight tape's still on my mind, right? Same with the linebacker that they got from Rome, Georgia. Man, if that's it, and that's the type of prospects they're bringing in, like the Noah Carter. I think Ebony might be in. Like Noah Carter's highlights are the type of prospect that Coach Kalen DeBoer and Womack is going to bring in on the defensive side of the ball. Like ultra talented and guys who are athletes. That's what you need in this day and age of college football, right? You got to be able to run. Love the W pickup by Aiden Holloway coming to Bama. Again, as I mentioned early on, like, man, it's amazing to like kind of go around because, man, I lived here for a while now and there wasn't much interest in basketball. What's up, Moonrocka? See you inside the comment box, man. Good morning. Byron, what's up, man? Nicole, good morning to you. Appreciate it. Monica, what's going on? Rocket Sound, good morning. Josh, good morning. But now people just want to talk basketball. I guarantee you, if I go outside of my neighborhood, somebody's stopping and being like, what's going on with the basketball team? What's up, Smook? See you inside the comment box. Said he talked to Merritt yesterday. That's what's up. Smook coming on at 11. D-Dub, what's up, man? Good morning. I see you coming through with it. Con line is open. I have Ty Hayes rolling through at 9:30 this morning on this fine Monday. Man, and the news hasn't stopped. Usually you get to this point in time of April and things have slowed down, whatever. But, I mean, we've been in a really good spot with news that has been fluid. I thought about coming on live last night to talk about Graham, but I was just posted up. I need a day. Like Sunday, I like it to just, rest, recover. Watched a movie yesterday, just kind of posted up, did some, ate dinner with my family, just kind of relaxed. John M., what's up, man? Good morning. How you going so far this beautiful day? Man, it is beautiful. It was a little bit cold this morning. I woke up super early and it was like in the 40s, but today should be lovely. Great pickup with the kicker, 100%. So now, you want to know which movie I watched? I went old school yesterday. This movie's old. I mean, it was Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood. Honestly, that's what I posted up watching yesterday. I saw it when I was cruising through HBO, and I was like, man, I haven't seen this movie in a long time. So I posted up and watched it. Yeah, Clint Eastwood, man, that's a good movie. Have you seen this movie? I saw Smook on X doing something. But I think now I feel better going after spring, going into the month of May, knowing that Alabama picked up their kicker? That was just the weak spot. No, I don't really feel the only other spot now that I feel that Alabama really needs to pick up on. And by the way, did you see Greedy Vance, the corner? He committed to USC, so he's off the board. Jordan, what's up, man? Kyle, did you lock into any of the rivals in Atlanta? Bama needs to go after Keenan Britt. Yeah, I mean, we're following recruiting. I mean, Smook will get you covered on recruiting in terms of who we're going after and, what's kind of on the horizon for Alabama on the recruiting front. But right now, I'm kind of focused on this transfer portal. I think the area that they really need to go to is the corner position. I think they 1,000,000% need to add a corner, and that guy probably isn't even in the portal just yet. Aaron's like, he loves that movie. I'm telling you, that movie is solid. And if you've gone to Alcatraz and if you've visited there before, you kind of have a greater appreciation. I don't know if they made it or if they didn't, right? One of the great prison escapes of all time. Brandon's like, Greedy went to USC. I don't know. I think this would be a good question to talk to Ty about. Ty Hayes, Around the Table Sports, joining us next right here. YouTube. Ty, what's up, man? Good morning to you. I appreciate you being here. What does Alabama do now that Greedy Vance committed to USC? I don't, for whatever reason, I think people got excited when it initially happened, including myself, but people more in the know said that wasn't going to be the corner that ended up at Alabama. Is there another prospect that has kind of emerged? Do you think that this prospect isn't in the portal yet? What's kind of your take at the corner position?
Well, if I'm looking at corners in the portal right now, there's really one name. Right, we know Takario Davis. He's got the no contact clause, so obviously he goes in there. You have a Toriano Pride, who I think is interesting, but I really, really like the Western Kentucky cornerback Anthony Johnson Jr. I would really like to see Alabama go after him. Very talented prospect, had a really, really productive year last year. But I'm of the mindset that this staff is waiting for some big fish to hop in the transfer portal. And speaking on Greedy Vance, I think Greedy Vance has got a lot of upside, right? I think he's got a lot of experience. But here's the question, ladies and gentlemen. This is why I'm not surprised in the least that he didn't commit to Alabama. Why are you transferring? And in the case of Greedy Vance, he only started 4 games for Florida State last year. I mean, it's not like he was a 14, 13 game starter for them, right? Then hopped in the transfer portal. He was a guy that came in some set pieces, he was a nickel corner, but even being a nickel corner towards the later portion of the season, he was, there were other options on Florida State, which gets me back to the question, why are you transferring? And if you're transferring because you want to be the unquestioned starter, well, Kyle, this is where we get into a conversation that may be a little bit uncomfortable to have, but, I'm definitely willing to have it. Are you going to be able to hold off a Jalen Mbakwe all year? Right? Let's assume that one corner is Damani Jackson. I believe that'll be the case. And the other outside corner is either going to be Zabian Brown, Zay Mincy. This is all for conversation's sake.
Yeah.
Are you then going to be able to hold off Jalen Mbakwe, who we could slot at that nickel corner position and let him work? I don't think so. Right? I think Jalen Mbakwe has all the upside in the world. So I think the Greedy Vance situation makes a lot of sense. Go to USC, somewhere where you can be the unquestioned starter. And the good thing for Greedy Vance, if I'm looking at this from Greedy Vance's perspective, Kyle, that USC defense was dog water last year. I mean, it was awful, terrible. You can now go into that situation as an experienced cornerback, and if that defense looks good, remember, Belk is over there. He's got the ties to Alabama. Really excited to see what he does there. If he goes over there, USC's defense does good, and he's a solid player, that's going to be better for him in the long run in terms of any potential stock. So I think this is a situation where it works out best for all sides. That being said, I do agree. Alabama still needs some experience in the transfer portal, but you have to get experience that is going to be able to play.
Speaking of picking up experience and adding experience to the roster, Graham Nicholson, I said this yesterday, I feel this out of all the pickups in the transfer portal. I think this is the most impactful, was getting Graham Nicholson to commit from Miami of Ohio to Alabama. I mean, the Lou Groza Award winner. I mean, this is monumental. I mean, we should be, and I'm sure people are celebrating this more, but this makes me sleep so much better if I'm an Alabama football fan, like out there, and I'm watching this. Like, Graham, this is gigantic. Your take on this, and kind of the excitement around this, because now you have James Burnap, you have Grant Nicholson. I mean, these guys, James Burnap could very well be the best punter this coming year, like win the punter award. And who knows? I mean, maybe this guy goes back to back with the Luke Groza. I have no idea, but damn, that's a huge pickup.
First and foremost, shout out to everybody in the Undefeated. We have Miss Ebony in here. We have Jordan. We have Brandon, Brian, Glenn, Jor, Kareem. If I didn't see your name, I apologize. I'm just scrolling through very quickly. Cynthia, Poetic, happy to see you. And listen, I think there's a principled argument that Nicholson is one of the biggest additions that Alabama has got in the transfer portal, especially when you look at his 2023 stats. All of this comes from ESPN, so shout out to ESPN for assembling this. That way I didn't have to go hunt it down piece by piece. He was 27 of 28 on field goals, 10 of 11 on field goals, 40-plus yards. He had a long of 52. But the part that I find to be very interesting here is that he had 73 kickoffs, Kyle, and 52 of them were touchbacks.
Wow.
That to me is really intriguing, because then it's like, okay, so now we have our special teams really set with this guy. Big addition. Won the Lou Groza, and I know this is a sore spot. This is a sore conversation for Alabama fans, because a lot of us thought Reichard should have won it.
Yeah.
Fair to feel that way, but let's look at it from this perspective. Even if you do feel that way, and Reichard was incredible, so certainly I'm not going to make that argument, right? Even if you do feel that way, you're talking about getting in a guy that was in Reichard's wheelhouse, and not many people were even in Reichard's wheelhouse. So great addition for Alabama via the transfer portal.
Yeah, I thought so too. As soon as I saw, and it happened fast too. He like entered, and then boom, he was a target, and then he was coming to Alabama. Who knows what he's getting behind the scenes? But that was a really big pickup. I love it. I love the addition so far. I've talked about the next additions and what it could be. I mean, clearly the corner spot is a need. I'm trying to think, like, on the offensive side, nothing really jumps out to me besides, someone on the offensive, line. What can you tell us a little bit more about the portal as it kind of wraps up this week?
Yep, you got 8 days to hop in. And understand this, ladies and gentlemen, one of the things, David Pickett, $9.99 to Tide. Thank you very much for the donation, David. Thank you for being here, spending your time with us this morning. Your time, that's an unbelievably powerful asset. And for all of you in the Undefeated, not just David, for all of you in the Undefeated, to give us your time on this morning, I really can't articulate how much I appreciate that. Thank you all very much for being here. Jermaine, thank you for being here. And thank you once again for that donation, David. Does mean the world. So if I'm looking at the offensive line, and we'll start with the portal talk in particular, you have until the 30th to jump in the portal. And understand, you might see some guys hop in the next 2 days after the 30th, because it can take from 48, I think it can take up to 72 hours to process the paperwork. So even guys who may have entered the portal on Saturday, their paperwork could still be processing, and we might not know anything until Tuesday or Wednesday. So when the portal closes, understand you might have a few later additions. They entered before the 30th. Their paperwork is processing. That's something we'll watch. And another thing, you can commit anytime. You don't have to commit by the 30th. You just have to enter by the 30th. Now, in terms of talking Alabama offensive line additions via the transfer portal, Kyle, this is an area where I've remained cautiously optimistic, and I'll explain why. I have always been of the mindset that there's one position group where it's real hard to get a guy that can come in and contribute immediately, and that's offensive line. I just think that out of every position, it's going to be really tough. I think if we look at the transfer portal, that's going to be the area where you have the thinnest margins. Now, Oklahoma just landed a guy, Branson Hickman from SMU, really highly graded center. I believe was a top 10 graded center. And you might be asking, well, why wasn't Alabama all over that? Because you have Brockermeyer, because you have Brailsford, and Alabama's question is not the interior. I think that the interior is going to be one of the best in the nation. I think that the guard tandem will be one of the best in the nation. Luckily, Alabama gets a Caden Proctor, but Caden Proctors in the transfer portal don't happen. That's why even now, as we sit here and talk, he's rated as the number 2 player to have entered and exited the transfer portal overall, because that doesn't happen. If you get tackles in the transfer portal, that's a rarity, especially if they can come in and contribute. So I'm cautiously optimistic that Alabama will make a move, but I once again, I think it's a really tough position to rely on the transfer portal for.
Ty, I like to go to you for like college football news and kind of like, you know, when we step out of our Alabama ecosystem, because I know you track all of college football. Can you just help us understand what's happening at Colorado? Transfers coming in, a couple transfers. They pick up a transfer, they lose 2. It's this cycle. It's not as exciting as it was last year, but things are still moving. I mean, they just lost another corner. They lost Kermani McClain recently. Like, can you just kind of put it into a box? So if you're an Alabama football fan, you don't have to like go and like search and you just like give it to us straight. What's happening over here?
Yeah, so I'm interested in Colorado, right? Because y'all know me, I'm very easily interested. I'm a nerd through and through. And I actually think that Colorado is going to be a phenomenal case study for us to have within the next 5 to 10 years about the transfer portal and the ability to build a quote unquote championship roster via the transfer portal. Because right now it's very obvious that Prime, he's not looking to do a lot in terms of high school recruiting. Now, if he can get a guy in high school, he's going to get a guy in high school, right? Like a Juju Lewis. Come on now. If he can get Juju, he's going to get Juju. But he wants to rely on the transfer portal. Now, I have famously stated this time and time again. I think the transfer portal is great if you're using it as a Band-Aid. But if you're using the transfer portal to build your foundation from there up, maybe it works in year 1, right? Whenever you inherit a team that only won 1 football game. But I was always of the mindset of like, okay, I understand why you do this year 1. You didn't have a full year to use high school football recruiting. You got to make major changes, hit the transfer portal, hit it hard. But then when you don't add in a recruiting class that features 20 guys, and in year 2, you're once again relying on the transfer portal. At this point, I just don't see how this is going to work. Now, and people wondering what's going on there, I actually think that this is according to plan. Now, we can have a conversation about the validity of that plan, and I don't think it's a great plan, right? Yeah. Once again, I think that the transfer portal is a Band-Aid, but this is how Prime wants to operate within Colorado. He wants to utilize the transfer portal, get experienced guys, but I just don't see that as a winning recipe. I just don't, right? You might get 1 or 2 or 3 guys via the transfer portal that you're going to be like, okay, that was a great addition, but I just don't think you're going to build a championship roster via the transfer portal, and they got a lot that they got to work on. So that's a situation I'll be watching closely. But if you're wondering what's going on there, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly, I think it's by design. And that is a totally other conversation, right? That opens the door for a totally different conversation.
Yeah, and I think kind of I love what you said about using the transfer portal as a Band-Aid, because that's exactly what Coach Kalen DeBoer did. An example of that was yesterday. Like they needed a kicker, right? They needed one. They got one. They needed a center. They got one. But also here comes James Brockermeyer, who's adding competition and is penciled in as a starter going in. Brailsford has every opportunity because he's still with the team to fight for that starting spot. But it was an area that needed to be addressed. Alabama lost Julian Satan. They add Austin Mack. Okay. Band-Aid, whatever, or replacing. This whole thing that Colorado's doing is, you're right. And I don't think the case study is going to be like 5 to 10 years. I think it's going to be like next year. Like this isn't working, or this. And look, I covered Colorado. It's a very challenging place. It was a challenging place to win when they were in the Pac-12. Now that they're going elsewhere, it's going to be even more challenging because, it's just it's not the Pac-12, and there's a lot of different elements around that program. We would all like it to be good, but I don't think they're going to be, to where they were, in that 94, when they made that run. Okay. Someone asked about Cormani McClain. He's not coming to Bama, right, Ty? I mean, as far as we know, it doesn't seem likely.
No, and that's a situation that, I hate that it's happening in public. And for those of you that know what I'm talking about, you had some people at Colorado releasing some practice footage of Cormani being beat. And personally, maybe it's because I've talked to so many former football players. I have a really good friend who trains a lot of these guys in the background, guys that, Alabama looks at, guys that are on Florida's roster, on Colorado. So talking to him and even talking to my friend who played defensive back for Gary Patterson, and Kyle, we want to talk about someone we might need to have on the channel. We might need to have Denzel come in here and talk to us about this 4-2-5 nickel defense, because Gary Patterson is the godfather of it. And he played under Patterson. His football IQ is through the roof. Getting to talk to him is an absolute treat.
Yeah.
But in terms of Cormani McClain, this is what I said last week whenever Coach Sean, Coach Smook, and I were talking about this. Do I think Cormani has really high upside? Of course. There's a reason Saban wanted him so bad. The problem comes whenever you need experience, right? Like there's an intersection in the transfer portal you're looking at. Greedy Vance, he had the experience. Are you going to be able to hold off the young guys? Well, that's a question. The other side of that intersection in the transfer portal is, you might have all the upside in the world, but you don't have experience. And at that point, if we're not going to get a cornerback with experience, I'm going to roll with the guys that picked Alabama that don't have experience, because I think their upside is just as high, if not higher in some instances. So that's where I look at with the Cormani McClain situation. Even if everything was all roses in terms of how he left everything, he doesn't have experience. And if we're talking about getting in a cornerback without experience, I'd much rather just roll with what we got.
I wanted to ask you, while we're talking outside of the Alabama football ecosystem, big news on Saturday with Arch Manning and what he was able to do distributing the football. 355. It was beautiful. It was nice. It was good to watch. It's good football. People are talking about it. We talk about college football here. Quinn Ewers is the guy at Texas. Steve Sarkisian's got to be happy about, the quarterback next in line, which would be Arch Manning. It just takes one season. Steve Sarkisian, what I like about him, and I believe A.J. Milwee is still there. Those guys are quarterback developers. They do a really good job working that quarterback room. Your take on Arch Manning? What do you see? What stands out?
One, this is what I always talked about. And there was I'm not going to get into names because that's not what I do. I'm just an opinion piece, right? There were people in the industry saying that if it wasn't for his last name, he would have been a 3-star. I made a video titled "The Truth About Arch Manning," and it was kind of going after those people. And it was like, hey, if you don't think he's the number one player in the nation, that's a perfectly fine and valid opinion to have. We can have that conversation. If you don't think he's the number one quarterback in the nation, that's a perfectly fine and valid conversation. We can have that. But to say that he's a 3-star is just being a bit disrespectful. And they would always say, oh, well, he doesn't camp. That's not totally true. He went to Clemson's camp. And ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if we remember, this is when he was a junior or sophomore, Kyle. He was having throws that were going viral. They were really pretty throws. Arch can play football now, and he's got a really high football IQ. If you didn't think that he was the number one player or the number one quarterback, that's fine. But to act like he was a bum was not rooted in reality. It couldn't have been further from the truth. And we saw that. He had a throw. Now, he had the one throw to, I believe, Ryan Wingo. Remember that name. That dude's a problem. This past receiving class is going to go down as good as any receiving class we've seen in a while. You have Cam Coleman out at Auburn. You got Jeremiah Smith at Ohio State. You got Ryan Wingo at Texas. And now you're going to have Ryan Williams making plays at Alabama. This is going to be a phenomenal wide receiver class. When we look at draft time, I mean, they're going to be loaded in the first round, if I had to guess.
How do you think that who has okay, how about this? Who has more success? And someone said inside the comment box that Ole Miss does a great job with the transfer portal, 1,000,000%. By the way, they just picked up a running back from New Mexico, I saw. Who has more success joining the SEC? Texas, Oklahoma? You think is it easy to say it's just going to be Texas? Is it safe to just assume that? And the reason I ask you this is because they're coming over, of course. But Alabama's also going to Norman, Oklahoma in a game that I cannot wait to see happen. And it's right before the game against Auburn. I think, Oklahoma's certainly gotten theirs. Brett Venables doing the best that he can there. It's still, a top program overall. It's a top 40 program for sure, top 30, whatever. Who has more success? Is it simply just Texas because it's Texas and Steve Sarkisian?
Listen, I think that Texas will be the answer, but I also don't sleep on Oklahoma. Oklahoma is only one of 3 programs over the past 3 years that has averaged a top 10 transfer portal acquisition class and a top 10 recruiting class. The only other programs to do that are Alabama and Texas. Brent Venables has came in here and done a lot of good work. He had to totally rebuild because there was a total philosophy switch. You had Lincoln Riley, who didn't understand what defense was, into a head coach that was a defensive-minded head coach. Yep. And furthermore, Riley took Caleb Williams. I mean, that put them real behind the 8 ball, and we saw what lack of quarterback depth happened for Oklahoma. Dylan Gabriel went down, and they ran Wildcat in the Red River shootout because they didn't have anything else. Mm-hmm. So I think Texas is the answer, but don't sleep on Oklahoma. Now, I've seen some people in the comments saying it's, Arch could have been a 3-star because of the competition he played against. Mm-hmm. Sure, but there are plenty of 4 or 5 stars that don't play in Duncanville, that don't play at IMG, that don't play at Mater Dei. If you can ball, you can ball, right? Josh Jacobs from Tulsa, Oklahoma wasn't in a big league. Baller. Derrick Henry at Ewell, Florida. That's not a huge league. Baller. But I do understand where y'all are well placed, right? Like it's harder to evaluate whenever you don't have that sort of film on a guy, whenever he's playing against competition that, quite frankly, they're not going to be playing in college football. That is well placed, and I understand everybody's sentiments there.
Yeah, I kind of think Oklahoma, I mean, nobody really talks about them in this with them joining the SEC because Texas is just such a huge brand. But I don't know, Texas is Oklahoma is pretty damn good there. And having them on that back end and Brent Venables, we've seen what's happened to Clemson ever since Brent Venables left, right? He was like that one strong arm of Clemson's program. I get it. Clemson is still, they're going to do whatever, but they're not the same Clemson without Brent Venables. Ty, before I bounce out of my segment, the NFL draft is upcoming. CBS Sports has Dallas Turner at 8, Terran Arnold at 20, the Packers taking JC at 25, Detroit taking Kool-Aid at 29. The Athletic has Atlanta taking Dallas at 8, the Chargers taking Latham at 11, the Raiders taking Terry on at 13, and the Jags taking Kool-Aid at 28. You think that and I asked the Undefeated this earlier. Are we safe to say Kool-Aid? Are we all in agreement that Terry Arnold goes before Kool-Aid? That's my first just yes or no.
At this point, I think he does. Yes. And I think we're splitting hairs in between them, but I have ranted, Kyle, about this. People are making a mistake on their evaluation of Kool-Aid. To have him go 28, I might have to pull up on somebody and write them a strongly worded letter. The cat didn't get tested, and he's being punished for not being tested. I don't know. It's almost like every single year we draft cornerbacks who don't get who are oh, this guy, he has all these numbers, and that's great. That's amazing. Arnold is one of the top cornerbacks in this draft, Kyle, because he did get tested because people didn't look at Kool-Aid, and he answered the test time and time and time again. He's one of the few guys that you put out on Worthy, and at least he's running stride for stride with him, which there's a guy who is a draft expert who's like, oh, well, I worry about Arnold's 40 time. If you're basing your pick on a 40 time, I mean, I don't know what you're doing, right? Like, I'm not a professional in this. I'm just a guy with a microphone, and I have the good sense that the good Lord granted an apple to realize that a 40 time is not indicative of everything. We've seen guys run 4-1, like a 4-2 something. Adoree Jackson, right, ran a 4-2 something. Unbelievable football player, but that doesn't make him Deion Sanders. That doesn't make him Champ Bailey. There's a lot of things that go into this. Terrian's football speed is way higher than his 40 dictates, but I just am perplexed at this notion of like, oh, well, Kool-Aid's falling down the board because he didn't put up the numbers because he wasn't tested. Like, isn't that the ultimate compliment as a quarterback? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Austin said Austin said Kool-Aid to Baltimore. That Baltimore defense, man, Baltimore is just a problem all the time. I mean, you know me, I watch the 49ers. Every time you have to deal with Baltimore, it's problematic. That defense does not quit. I'd love to see Kool-Aid up in Baltimore. All right. So the Athletic has JC at 11, but CBS has JC at 25, which I think is way too low. And the reason I say that is because I just saw JC Latham at Pro Day. He shred all that weight. He looked fantastic. I think I would venture to say that Alabama has two in the top 10. Dallas Turner, his combine was unbelievable. One of the best we've seen in a while. And then JC Latham at Pro Day completely impressed me. So I would venture to say that Alabama has two within the top 10. I think Terrion Arnold will be a top 15. And I think Kool-Aid will be a top 20. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Chris Braswell go end of the first, early second round. Chris Braswell, second round guy for sure. I mean, right here with the mock draft by the Athletic, they have him all the way at 75. I think that's way too low. I think he goes second round for sure. What do you think about that?
I think he's a second round guy. I know that they're going to use like the lack of experience against him. But Kyle, he had Will Anderson and Dallas Turner and you have two of the most freakish edges that have come out in the last few years from the SEC in front of you. That's not a knock. Yeah. I mean, goodness gracious. So I think Braswell is a second round guy. I think he's got first round ability. But this is something we've talked about time and time again, Kyle. There's an unfortunate truth as it pertains to the draft. And Christopher saying, I don't know why Kool-Aid's falling so much. So I'm going to answer multiple things here with the same statement. It's an unfortunate truth. We're in devalue time. And a lot of these teams will devalue players in hopes that nuggets get around. And it's part of the reason why we heard A.D. Mitchell is a nightmare to deal with. And all of a sudden, all the players that have played with him come out and they're like, no, he's not. That couldn't be further from the truth. Well, the reason why that comes out now is they're hoping that seeps into these rooms and A.D. Mitchell falls 10 places, 15 places. The same thing happens with A. Braswell, where it's like, okay, well, we can't say anything, but maybe we keep mocking him in the third round. Maybe we keep saying, oh, we like this guy ahead of him. It's all about value. Whenever you have to operate within a cap space, I think that we don't, like, even myself, it's hard for me to fathom the difference between first round money and third round money, because it is a major difference in terms of your cap hit, especially with how some of these guys are negotiating their contracts year one. So that's, I think, part of the reason why we're seeing Kool-Aid fall. They can't, within well reason, get him to fall out the first round, because I swear to you, I will pull up. Like, you will see me run on stage and I don't know what I'll do. Blaze will come out. It won't be Ty. It'll be Blaze for legal purposes. But we're in devalue season. That's where we are.
All right, you guys support Ty like you guys support me for the next 30 minutes. Coach Smook rolling up at 10:30. We appreciate you guys being here right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Hope you guys enjoyed my segment along with Ty hopping in with the last 25 minutes. Always good to have the tandems and to go solo. As news happens, think Bama football on YouTube. We appreciate you guys being fan funders. Hit the hyperlink above the screen, only $2.99. And of course, special thanks to our sponsors and to everybody who joined this morning to get the week started right here on Bama football on YouTube. Ty, do your thing, man. I'll catch up with you soon.
Appreciate it as always, Kyle. Always a great time to be able to run that tandem with Kyle. We have a lot of fun and always great to be over here on Bama football on YouTube. I got to always thank the big three, which is Kyle, which is T, and that's everybody in the undefeated. Without you three, this doesn't happen, right? It just doesn't happen. I don't have this platform to be able to rant, and maybe that's a good thing, right? But regardless, we're here. We have a lot of fun. Let's talk about, everything going on. And Kareem, I saw your point about Arch being a quarterback, and that's where it makes it different. And I think you are right there. Like I think that's a very well-placed point. I still think that he's much better than a 3-star, but I also think that that is a very well-placed point. The quarterback position, it's a little bit more nuanced. It's a little bit more contextual in terms of evaluation. And so I 100% agree, and I understand where you're coming from there. And I don't really have the greatest argument against it, right? Like, all I can say is like, oh, I would have evaluated him here. But that, what are you going to do with that? That's not necessarily a strong principled argument, right? So very well placed point. Very good point, Kareem. Cynthia, thank you for the 2 months saying, love your segment, Ty. Roll Tide Roll. Well, I love you being here. And thank you for everybody in the undefeated for being here. And we had a good weekend. Well, part of a good weekend. We had the big commitment, and then I went out sad. As many of you will know that were here last week, I picked Haney over Ryan Garcia. And boy, was I wrong. We're going to talk about why I was wrong in the later portion of that segment. Fascinating fight. Really interesting fight. Really interesting build up to the fight. We'll talk about that in the later portions. As you know, Bama football always comes first. Brandon Wilkins with the $4.99 saying, let's talk business, Ty. Big names hitting the portal soon from other schools. Are we prepared to rock with the young guys? This is something I'm really interested in, Brandon, because, and thank you for the donation, Brandon, as always. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time, and thank you for any contribution that you have given. It truly does mean the world to me. I hope some big names hit the portal. I think that it makes sense that this week would be more active than last week, just looking around college football, and so many spring games hadn't been played yet. And I think a lot of people would want to be there for those spring games. And now that those are done, I think we could see more action. But we also, Kalen DeBoer even talked about this. And I think it's fascinating because think of everything as like a seesaw, right? A balancing act, a scale, if you will. And you have to get someone who's not going to cause your young guys to be disgruntled, right? And what you do is, like, if you can go out there and get the Western Kentucky cornerback, like an Anthony Johnson Jr., that's a dude. If you have a big name cornerback enter that, like, is a dude, it's easy to talk with your young guys and be like, hey, we love your upside. There's no doubt about that. But we can now have you learn behind Malachi. We can have you learn behind Damani. We can have you learn behind whoever else that is. Now you can also come in here for reps, but you don't have that pressure on you. You can really sit here your freshman season and absorb. That's going to be awesome for you as you go down your career. That's much easier to digest than getting a guy who it's like, is this guy really better than me? Like, sure, he might have experience, but is he better than me? That's where I really like that Alabama isn't forcing it. But I just don't think that there has been the names in the portal that this staff was willing to jump on. Right. Greedy Vance was interesting because you can put him at nickel corner and he's got so much experience. But like I say, I mean, you look at a Jalen Mbakwe, and let's say you have like Zabian Brown or Zay Mincy out on that other side. If you're rolling with your young guys, Jalen Mbakwe at that inside corner, he has got so much athleticism. Like, he is so fast that I'm totally fine with him covering those guys on the inside, especially as you have Sab and Malachi at those safety positions to kind of help him, learn. I just think it's a very interesting balancing act that you must do whenever you're looking at the cornerback position or any transfer portal addition. You have to get a guy that you know, like, okay, this guy's either going to add in competition, and you do need depth. Someone said earlier, like, yeah, Red Morgan is 100%, Brandon, 100%. Love Red Morgan's game. I've watched that spring game a few times, and every time I'm just like, man, Red Morgan is going to be so good. All of those freshman guys are. All those freshman guys are. AJ, we're on this conversation right now, my brother. And it's one of those things where it's just like, if someone that you can't say no to hops in the portal, you go after them. But it's the balancing act, right? It's the balancing act. And someone earlier said you need depth. And you're absolutely right. You do need depth. You do need depth. The problem comes with, why are you entering the transfer portal? And this is an interesting conversation to have. It's the conversation we had about Vance whenever he entered the transfer portal. Coach Smook and I talked about this. Coach Sean and I talked about this. If you're entering the transfer portal because you just want a change of scenery, you want to push yourself, you want to be the best version of you, and maybe that means, hey, I know that I might not get this position. I know that. But I want that competition. I want to push myself. Well, then that's all well and good. By all means, the doors are open, my friend. Because that's what Alabama is all about. It's that competition. It's about becoming the best version of you through hard work, not only through yourself, but the hard work of others as a team. That's well and good. If that's why you're in the transfer portal, come on in, because we do need depth. But if you're in the transfer portal because you want to be the unquestioned starter, well, I mean, you might start the first 4 games. True. Are you going to be able to hold off these young cats throughout the year? You got to be a dude. There's a few dudes out there, right? There's a few dudes out there. And that's really the question here. Why are you entering the transfer portal? Those questions should be asked. 100%, Kareem. I think those questions should be asked anytime. And understand, that's not to say that, like, there aren't acceptable answers. I've seen kids enter the transfer portal from a big-time program, and it's like, hey, I just want to be a bit closer to home. That's valid. I got no problem with that. Cool. We have to acknowledge that comfortability is a thing. Like, yes, you need to be uncomfortable to grow, but there are valid reasons. Oh, I had a family thing. I need to be back closer to home. Cool. By all means. But if your answer is, I'm looking to be the unquestioned starter, well, that might be great if you're a dude, like a dude that we can't question. But if not, it might not be the place, right? It might not be the place. I would love to get Jacoby Matthews. He's in the SEC 100%. 100%. Very talented guy, very high upside. I hate that SEC rule. And I guarantee you now, all of the coaches that voted for it are kicking themselves, because now you have an expanded college football playoffs. Yeah, Austin, 100%, 100% agree with you. Jacoby Matthews is very talented. Very, very talented. Love his game. I think he's got very high upside. And A&M has been chaotic. It's the same argument I gave to Ace asking we'll talk about that after my little spiel right here. I go off on some tangents, Ace. They're all connected, but they're tangents nonetheless. That's a me problem. I had the same argument, like, about chaos and how it can affect a team about Arizona State. There's a reason why whenever Jaden Daniels transferred to LSU, people were like, oh, he's done after his freshman year. Go back and watch Jaden Daniels' freshman year in college. It was incredibly fun to watch. I mean, I had as much fun watching that cat play quarterback as I've had watching a freshman play in a long time at the quarterback position. A long time. He was very obviously gifted. But then you have so much chaos around Arizona State where you have coaches snitching on coaches. I mean, it's not a situation that's conducive to success in the slightest. Chaos can really hamper growth. Texas A&M has been chaotic. So Jacoby Matthews is a guy, I think you get him in the right situation. He's going to be a dude. He's just coming from a chaotic place. And it's very hard to flourish in chaos. Right? Very hard to flourish in chaos. Ebony says ASU is whack. Yeah, well, what they were doing under Herb, whenever they were snitching on each other, whenever the Jaden Daniels leaves and you have the team tearing apart his locker, that shows the type of culture they had there. Now, I'm really hopeful that a Kenny Dillingham, that a Brian Carrington, that they can kind of guide them through that, right? Really, really loved their staff that they put together. Kenny Dillingham, Brian Carrington, Rashad Samples. Rashad Samples, now the running back coach out at, Kareem, 100%. The coaches sold Herm Edwards out. And if the coaches are selling the top guy out, the entire system becomes piracy. The entire system becomes piracy. And we saw that whenever Daniels transferred and they're ripping apart his locker. It's just like, oh, that's the culture you guys had. Cool. That's not going to be conducive to success. Rashad Samples, the running back I'm talking about, he's now at Oregon. Remember that name. Remember that name. Rashad Samples, youngest running back coach in NFL history, was with the Rams. Has deep connections to DFW now. I mean, deep connections to DFW. Real deep connections to DFW. If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember whether his dad was the coach of Duncanville or South Oak Cliff. If somebody in the Undefeated knows the answer to that, I don't remember which one it was, but to just kind of highlight, that's a guy that, I mean, all of DFW, those doors are open for him. Not saying he's going to win them all, but the doors are certainly open. Great hire by Oregon, pulling him from Arizona State. Young guy. I believe he's like 27, 26. But goodness gracious, man. Really talented coach. Really talented coach. Really excited to see how his career blossoms. Now, asking about the SEC rule. Let's go back to this. What is the SEC rule, Ty? Well, Ace, this is the conversation we were having where I say I think these coaches are kicking themselves. The SEC rule is that you can't transfer to an SEC school in the spring window. Now, here's why the rule, Ace, fundamentally falls on its face. This is why the rule is so inconsequentially stupid. It's so stupid. Because if you had a coach and I've said this time and time again, if you had a coach like Brian Kelly retire, not saying he is, we're just argument's sake, right? Argument's sake. If you had a coach like Brian Kelly retire right now, the SEC could raid his roster and they would have immediate eligibility. But if a player from LSU went to transfer and wanted to go to Georgia, they'd have to sit a year. How do those two things coexist? Like, it makes fundamentally no sense. And the reason why I know all of these coaches are kicking themselves is because now you have an expanded playoffs, meaning more teams are going to have access to the playoffs. And this isn't the NBA, where it's a best of 7. And so typically the best team wins, right? And in college football, don't get me wrong, the best team wins. You know what I mean? Like, we've seen such a sample size now of the college football playoffs, and I think very few times are we like, oh, well, it's had its way of working itself out. Point being, whenever you have an expanded college football playoff, now you have teams that wouldn't have made it before, and it's any given Saturday. This is what we've always known about college football. It's any given Saturday. Well, now these SEC coaches voted on this rule so the SEC players can't transfer within conference without either having an exception present, being grad transfer, or having to sit out a year. But the Big Ten can raid SEC rosters. Well, guess what? You're going to have to face those cats in the playoffs. And now you as a conference have handcuffed yourself. You're the only conference that did it. So you have Big Ten teams being able to raid SEC rosters. You're going to see them in the playoffs. Well, what if that's the difference maker? What if that depth is the difference maker? Why are you handcuffing yourself so that every other conference gets richer? And I get it. The SEC is not looking at this like, oh, we want to strengthen ourselves, right? Like it is every man for himself. That's kind of how all these conferences are. The SEC didn't want SEC teams loading up on talent, but darn it, now you have Ohio State, you have Oregon loading up on talent. And it's like these SEC teams are sitting here looking like, well, they're going after the SEC players. So I'm not sitting here as an SEC fan telling you that the best talent is in the SEC. They're telling you that by their actions. Rule makes no sense. The rule makes no darn sense. You've just hampered yourself. Why? You're the only conference that did it. The ACC doesn't have this. The Big Ten doesn't have this. The Pac-1 and 1.5, whatever the hell they are, they don't have this. I mean, granted, it wouldn't make any difference if they had this, right? Like, what are you going to do? Transfer between two schools? The Big 12 doesn't have it. It's just the SEC. And we as SEC fans get flack all the time from these outside conferences when they're like, oh, well, you guys think you have the best talent. Aren't y'all proving that by your actions? By coming to the SEC in this transfer portal and loading up on all this SEC talent? You're not seeing a bunch of Big Ten to Big Ten movement. You're seeing a lot of SEC to Big Ten movement because the SEC can't take their own players. The only conference that did it. And like I said, if a coach retires, if Kirby took an NFL job tomorrow, that roster could be raided by Alabama, by Ole Miss, by Texas, by Florida, by Auburn. It could be raided, but only in a special 30-day window. How do you rectify that? How do you allow, and I get it, I'm not mad at the 30-day rule. That's not my contention here. I know a lot of Alabama fans were whenever Nick Saban retired, and even myself. I'm like, man, this sucks. But I get it. I get it. But how in the world do you have a rule that allows SEC teams to raid each other in that 30-day window, but then when the actual transfer portal window comes about, you can't do anything unless a coach retires? It makes no sense. Makes absolutely no sense. It's all about money, bro. 100%. But wouldn't it make more money? Like, I don't know. Right? Maybe it wouldn't. Maybe it wouldn't. I'm not going to lie. I'm not super well versed into the money conversation. So that may be like, but it seems to me that if you were able, here's what I mean. It seems to me that if you were able to allow like a Jacoby Matthews to transfer within the SEC, wouldn't that increase viewership? Like if you were allowed if the SEC was able to have players transfer within itself, couldn't I make an argument that would increase viewership, therefore increasing money? Maybe not. Maybe that's a terrible argument, right? And I fully concede that maybe that's a terrible argument. But I don't know. That rule just, as y'all can tell, that rule really makes me mad. Maybe it stopped some big names from transferring. Maybe it has. And understand this, Hot. I'm mad at the rule just because I think it fundamentally makes no sense. There's one pet peeve of mine, right? Like I have a lot of pet peeves, but one of them that just absolutely takes the cake is logical inconsistency. And to me, I find that logically inconsistent. I have had to train my brain from everything I did in college, from debate, from moot court, to be objective and logically consistent. Because I would have to argue that something's a violation of the 14th Amendment, say. I would have to argue, no, Your Honors, this is a violation of the 14th Amendment. And this is why. If we look at these cases right here, it upholds the constitutionality or lack thereof of this ruling. And 5 minutes after I got done arguing that this was a constitutional violation, I would have to argue that, no, this wasn't a constitutional violation. What are we talking about? No. If we look at this case, if we look at the tertiary sites, this isn't a constitutional violation. This is something that the court has upheld. And so I've had to train myself in logical consistency and to see billion-dollar entities just be so flippant with it. I think that's where I come from, Hot, because I think you're right. I think this is a really good comment, a really, really good comment, Hot like PU94. I think it's a great comment. But it's just the logical inconsistency of it all that just fires me up. It just makes me so mad. And I get madder whenever I see logical inconsistency from billion-dollar organizations or from multi-million-dollar organizations, because it's like, dude, you should be able to buy this. Like, what are we doing? But Corey, the reason why this isn't a good argument, in my opinion, now, thank you for the argument. I do truly appreciate anybody who disagrees with me, truly making an argument. Then why allow them to do that whenever a coach retires? Nick Saban retires. The players could go to Georgia. They know the system. Why allow them to transfer from SEC to SEC in the winter window? Right? Like, it's not like they all of a sudden forgot the scheme and the system in the winter window, and the only time they remember it is in the spring. They're allowed to transfer SEC to SEC in every other instance except spring. So if this was our main concern, if retaining the schemes and schematics was our main concern, they wouldn't have allowed SEC to SEC transfers in any case. In any case. Now, the reason people are asking, why did Bonds be allowed to go to Texas? Why don't Bonds have to sit out? Because he transferred after Nick Saban retired. All the players, I believe it was still within the realm of the transfer portal window, but all teams that went to the college football playoffs, those players were granted an extended window in the transfer portal, which is a good rule. That's a great rule. That's a great rule. It went against Alabama in this instance, but that is a great rule. That, like, hey, you're focused on playoffs. And if you transfer before the playoffs, that's a little bit of a red flag. You're focused on playoffs. Do that. You'll have an extra week to hit the portal afterwards. That's why Bond was able to sit out. But Corey, that's my point, right? Like, that's my point. If we're truly worried about not having rivals, no system and schematics, then don't allow SEC to SEC transfers in general. Now, one of the reasons why I'm not too worried about that in and of itself is because if someone like myself, well, the window had closed, Davin, but remember, the playoff teams get an extended window. And he transferred the week of, that was within the extended window, I believe. But you're right. It was a double factor. It was the extended window for college football playoffs teams and the fact that Saban had retired. So, you know, it's just fundamentally a bad rule to me. Yeah, true, 100%. Louis says, I'm all for the SEC to SEC, non-SEC to go get snowed on up north. I hear you. Maybe it is stupid, but maybe in the spring they're trying to keep these kids from being babies if they don't start in the spring game. But then they're going to transfer anyways in some instances. But KPX, they're operating under the same under the same logic that they're already in the SEC. It's the reason why Bama couldn't go get a Peyton Kirkland. Because even though Texas and OU don't hit the SEC officially until July 1st, right now Alabama cannot get transfers that come from Texas or Oklahoma and vice versa. Texas and Oklahoma right now cannot get transfers coming from the SEC. So you're right. They don't officially contractually enter into the SEC. I mean, so here's the thing I have against that, Poetic. If someone like myself has access to all 22, right? And I don't know, like, if someone like me has access to all 22 footage, these coaches have all 22. So, I mean, they know the schemes, right? Like, that's not the issue. 100%. 100%. I like this comment, Davin. He says the rule is definitely a double-edged sword. It's great when you get players, but if you lose top players during the spring to your rival, I can. Yeah, I think that right now, though, with the expanded playoffs, like, you're hurting yourself. No, like, now you're having your talented guys going to the Big Ten. No, and I get it. You're not having, like, bona fide starters in most instances, but you get what I mean. Like, you have principal depth leaving. But this is a very good comment, Davin. I 100% agree with this. Didn't they just change the rule about sitting out a year? Maybe that negates the rule. So the NCAA did, but the SEC is the only conference that still says if you transfer, you have to sit out a year. This is a conversation for a different day, Ken. I don't disagree in its entirety. I think that there need to be a bit more stipulations, but right now, if any of you are wondering why the NCAA is being so inactive, it's because they are worried about court cases. 5 court cases coming down that we will be paying attention to in 2025. And in that situation, no, so here, I'll see if I can. So, Davin, I'm very lucky to have been in a group with some scouts, and this is my this is just my 2023 all 22 film collection. I have it segmented in the teams. So all these tiles you see, I have there all 22. And then within those tiles, I have it segmented offensive, defensive, and then some that I haven't put in yet. But I was lucky to kind of talk with some scouts and get their all 20. They let me have access to their all 22 vault. And so that's where I watch Washington's film is through the all 22 I have of Washington. Let me actually see. Let's find Washington. So yeah, I have 2023 Washington offense versus Washington State. 46 minutes just offense versus Washington State defense. And then I have Washington's defense versus Washington State offense. All that good stuff. So I was very lucky to be able to get access to this. Very, very lucky. Like I said, man, I was looking and looking and looking, and then I just happened to connect with some NFL scouts or a former NFL scout. That was just where I was lucky. Dawson Merrick, a crystal ball to bit. That kid's a monster, man. An absolute monster. I was actually watching some of his stuff the other day, and I was like, dear Lord, this kid is wild. I think that the reason was the rule was implemented was to uphold the integrity of the SEC, not about money, to prevent tampering. I don't disagree, Batman, but then once again, we get back to the original argument I have. Then why are we allowing SEC teams to get transfers from within in the winter window? If it's about integrity, if it's not about tampering, they're tampering then. They're tampering at that point, so why is it just relegated to the spring? Like, tampering is happening regardless. Tampering is legal. Not really, but we've talked about this before. Tampering is legal, but in a roundabout way. I do agree with you. That was probably their thought process, Batman. But at the point where you allow it in the winter, teams implement new schemes in the spring. Well, if they're just implementing it in the spring, then that's not going to be like thorough enough. Right? You talk to any coach out there and they're going to tell you if you just have the spring to implement schemes, you're done. You're screwed. You need that fall camp. So I don't know. That argument doesn't really move me in the slightest, because you're tampering in the winter window. If a coach retires right now, the SEC can raid that roster. New schemes begin to be implemented in the spring, but that's where fall camp is really king, is really ironing all that down. I just don't see what legs that rule has to stand on. Like, I know there are arguments they put forward, but I just, for the life of me, I don't understand how they're any. That's an SEC rule, Antoine. That's an SEC rule. Only conference that does it is the SEC. The only conference. That's neither here nor there. I said in these last few minutes we would talk about my major L this weekend. And boy, was it a major L. I picked Devin Haney over Ryan Garcia, and I was the fool. Let's quickly talk about this. Y'all know I love combat sports. Y'all know I love boxing, USC. Let's quickly talk about this. Fascinating build up to the fight. Fascinating fight in and of itself. For those of you that watched, round one, Garcia put it on him, hurt him. Only reason I didn't give it a 10-8 is because Haney didn't get dropped. So I was like, okay, 10-9 that round, but boy, did Garcia put it on him. Then it was interesting because Haney went on a 4 rounds. 4 rounds, Devin Haney started getting active. And even though he won 4 rounds in a row, Garcia won round 1, no question. Rounds 2 through 5, 2 was close. Two, I think you could give either way. Personally, I gave it Haney. I didn't have money on the fight, Ronnie. One thing I've learned is anything can happen, so I very rarely gamble on sports because anything can happen. I should have gambled on that darn Max Holloway fight. I'd have won so much. So rounds 2 through 5, I gave all to Haney. Once again, round 2, I think, was very close. But I'll tell you when I knew this fight was done, and I knew Haney was in trouble. I believe it was round 4. 4 was very close. 4 was another one that if you gave to Garcia, I'm not mad at that. But Deshaun, yep, you hit the nail on the head. He hit Ryan with an overhand right, and it was about as clean as you could possibly land an overhand right. And it didn't phase Ryan Garcia. Like, sure, it knocked him back, but he wasn't wobbled. He wasn't on shaky legs. And as talented as Garcia is now, we've seen him get knocked down. We've seen that. And so for him to land a flush overhand right, that's when I knew, like, oh boy, I picked the wrong cat. He had no answer for the left hook, no counter for it. And you could tell the difference in power. Garcia landed a left hook. It did damage, real damage. Haney landed a textbook overhand right, nothing. Knocked Garcia back. Garcia slapped the gloves together, screamed, like it was almost like it woke him up. Oh, Davin. Tank would do unspeakable things. Well, first off, I never subscribed. Even if Devin Haney would have beat Ryan Garcia, I never subscribed that he's beating Tank. Tank is a totally different level than Haney. Respectfully, right? He is a totally different level. Tank is a monster. So whenever he threw that overhand right, connected, and it did nothing, I knew, like, okay, that's not good. And then Ryan Garcia, he does this weird Philly shell. Like, I get the Philly shell, right? Mayweather has a beautiful Philly shell where he can just roll with things, but Garcia was fully turning his back. Haney threw about 5 punches to the body, and it did nothing. Absolutely nothing. Then we get into the later rounds. Garcia takes 6 and 7. Bad. The only reason one of those rounds isn't a 10-8, I had it as a 9-8, was because of the point deduction from Ryan, right? Fair. when we get into the final rounds of the fight, ladies and gentlemen, we could have had a 10-7. And that's incredible. To actually say that you could have witnessed a 10-7, tie, the fight was over in the first round. Yeah, I think yes and no. You never know, right? Like, did Garcia exhaust himself? And the reason why I think that's an argument is because I had Haney going from Garcia, obviously round 1, round 2, 3, 4, 5, Haney, 6 and 7, just dastardly by Garcia. And then Haney never really recovered. To be 100% honest, like, Haney may have taken round 8. I think he sneaked out round 9. But Garcia had multiple 10-8 rounds, and I even think he had a 10-7 round, which is wild. Absolute wild. That last left hook. I agree with you, Bryson. I actually 100% agree with you. They were both holding a lot. I swore at one point Garcia was going to jump guillotine because he kept hooking Haney, and Haney just held on for dear life. Right? So I don't blame Garcia for almost jumping guillotine, because you're right. But boy, that last knockdown where he hit Haney with that left hook and you saw the eyes roll back. I thought they should have stopped it after that. I think they should have stopped it a few times. But yeah. And Poetic says, is this weight cutting is wild. And I understand. I saw people on Twitter being like, well, Ryan Garcia came in 3 pounds overweight. And for my boxing people, you'll know for a 140, that's decent. Right? Like, that's a decent margin, 140 pounds. And yes, you rehydrate up, but it's all about the 1, professionalism, 2, that drain. That's not the reason Haney lost. Haney got his ass kicked, and that's not the reason why he lost. He had no answer for that left hook. I don't care if Ryan came in underweight. He had no answer for the left hook. None. And Tank had an answer for that left hook. Now, y'all remember Tank, he ducked under it. Ryan threw that left hook, and then boom. Beautiful. Y'all know what time it is. Oh, and to answer this, I like Bud Crawford. I don't know that he's the best. Man, do I have fun with him. I really like Crawford. Y'all know I love boxing, but y'all know what time it is. Coach Snook in the background. Y'all hear the music. Yeah, 100% travel punter. He couldn't find the range on his jab. And he couldn't put... There was nothing behind the jab. Nothing. Oh, for sure, Poetic. For sure. Weight cutting is wild. My man.
What's up, brother?
Oh, you know, just stewing in my L.
Hey.
I was riding a real high after that Max Holloway call out because nobody thought I got that one right.
I already know it, man.
And that was real low after this one. I knew, though, after, like, I think it was round 4, or maybe it was round 5, Haney landed a beautiful overhand right, and Ryan Garcia looked at him like he was stupid. And that's when I was like, oh, it's done. It's done.
So I didn't watch the whole fight. I got bits and pieces of it, right? But from what I did see, like you said, it was like once the 5th round hit, it was like no more. It was done. It was like a done deal after that. So once I get back, you know, I ain't had a lot of time this weekend either, man. I was able to go by, talk to a lot of the guys that showed up to Rivals, a couple of commits from Bama they showed up to Rivals this weekend. As you all know, I'm in Atlanta, so I didn't make it to Rivals, but I was close enough to talk to some of the people that, man, like Bama recruits stood out, and there was some names and some conversations being had at the camp that I think are going to start to get a lot of you hyped, a lot of the fan base hyped. So, you know, in between that and doing my monthly social media stirring up, you know, I have to get, what is it called? I have to flush like all the pent up pettiness. I have to flush it in like 2 or 3 days. So I'm on that tangent right now. So don't mind nothing that I'm posting on Twitter or who I'm calling out or nothing. It's not personal. It's literally I have to flush. I have to get rid of it so I don't carry it over to the next one. But yeah.
See, I haven't. Once again, I don't ever see any of that. I just because I've been searching for the boxing takes on Twitter. That's all I've been looking at.
You won't find too many on Twitter. They usually have like good spaces on Facebook for that.
Yeah. Brandon Wilkins 199 saying Gypsy King Ty, give him credit. Big man can box for sure. Brandon, man's got crazy footwork. I remember the first time I watched him fight years ago. I was like, how are you this big?
And
but this good? Like moving like that.
Hey,
someone asked me Fury or Usyk.
Fury or Usyk?
I don't know. That's a tough one. I need to go back and watch more Usyk, but Fury better come with something different than he met Francis with.
Because if Fury come out there like he did against Francis, Usyk is something different, man, and he's a multifaceted. Like he got multiple styles he can hit you with. You don't really limit his range as far as what he can do. I mean,
and I do think it's a principled argument that like Fury underestimated, Ngannou. Yeah, I think that's a very I think that's fair, but
yeah, it
is what it is. But talk to me, man. We got Dawson Merritt getting a crystal ball to Alabama. We have we have Latsier Brooks up at New Jersey, or I don't know where that camp is he's at, but he is out there making plays.
Make sure you say 4-star Latsier Brooks. You remember they was trying to shortchange my boy talking about he was a 3-star. 4-star
top 100 player.
4-star wide receiver Latsier Brooks. And that's not it. I'm telling y'all, he will end up being a 5-star when it's all said and done. Them finals ratings and everything come out, his senior year, all of that stuff. He's going to be a 5-star. But Dawson Merritt, one of the guys that I'm real cool with. Haven't been like in contact with him every week, but he is one of the first recruits that I was able to gain contact with when I first started in the industry. And I check in from time to time, especially when I see his name buzzing, trying to make sure I ain't missing nothing or, I ain't been kicked to the curb, because it matters that these relationships stay intact. And yeah, man, we had a good conversation. And his feels for Bama are just like they've been there. The uncertainty was definitely prevalent early in Saban retirement, and his staff getting established. But overall, man, I really think it's a realistic thing. So Dawson Merritt, a few steps closer to becoming Alabama commit, man. And I think once he commits, he's one of those guys where he's going to shut it all down. Everything else around him is going to get shut down.
Yeah, and there's some big name teams after him, which you would expect, right? You would absolutely expect with a talent like Dawson Merritt. Also, I think it's really interesting where they want to play him, right? Love that right there. Patriot Life, member for 3 months, saying, happy Monday to the coaches and the undefeated, trying to get going after being off a week. Have a great Monday. Roll Tide, roll. Hey, man, I know what it's like trying to get back in the swing of it after having like a week off. That first day is always the toughest, right? Because you're just like, oh, man, why am I here? I should be off still.
Right.
Any word on Hayward?
Lagonza Hayward?
I believe that's what he's talking about.
Hold on, I'm trying to look up something in the background. I ain't even looking at the screen yet. 1 second. What'd he say? Any word on Hayward? Also, did you see Duke Johnson killing it in ATL? So Duke had like surprisingly, it wasn't much for Duke to do there, man. Duke Johnson, kind of cruised through the camp. Kind of cruised through it, man. Every rep was kind of like wasn't nothing spectacular. He's just that good. He's just that sound. I think what he's been doing in the lab, has been focused mostly on maintaining his speed, his agility, all of his intangibles that he's able to have at, 220, 225, 220, that range. But he's putting on some weight. He looked like he's getting, especially in the lower body, man. It's like Duke is he's deceptive with his size. Kind of like Q-Rob. When Q-Rob first got to Bama, a lot of people didn't think he would be able to stay, at the outside linebacker, play edge. But you look at Q-Rob now, man, he's one of those hybrid build type, outside edge rushers. And Duke Johnson, crazy thing about him is, man, you don't know where you want to play him at, on the edge or in the middle. Same thing with Dawson. Same thing with Luke Metz. Like, you don't know if you want to put Luke in the middle of your defense or let him play strong safety. Be a big, strong safety because he can actually get out and cover. But a lot of people ask about Luke, man. Luke had a highlight. Y'all know Alabama was targeting Alvin Henderson, right? The running back out of, I want to say, Elba, Alabama, in-state recruit. Luke basically went out there and stood him up and was like, pushed him back about 8 yards on the bull rush, on the blitz drills, QB versus, running back versus linebacker. Those pressure drills are something different when it's linebacker on running back. You could build a lot of value for yourself as a running back in those drills, or you can really hurt your stock. And if I was a scout and I seen Luke do what he did to Alvin, I think that just upped his hype even more. Speaking of the Angels, Luke just texts me, says Smook. About
Patriot life. I had a good weekend, just still stewing.
So, Ty, I wanted to ask you before we get into more football talk, man. How was your weekend? Because I'm gonna tell you, man, my weekend, it was so much that happened in the past 72 hours. Like, one major bad thing, somebody tried to mess with my stuff, but other than that, it was like everything I was turning towards that could look like adversity, it was like a blessing in disguise. So I just wanted to know, was that happening for the team? Because I pray for my team and stuff. So how was your weekend, brother?
Man, Saturday, all it did was rain here. But you already know I sat out back, had my laptop out there, watched the FA Cup semifinals, Man City versus Chelsea. That was tough. Chelsea absolutely gave that game away. Then I watched the, boxing fight. Had me some cigars. Enjoyed my time. Sunday came around. Watched the other part of the FA Cup, Manchester United versus Coventry, and that game was spectacular. Spectacular. It looked like Coventry had gotten a huge win over Man U. I believe in the 90th minute, 2 minutes added time, 91-30. Coventry scores a goal, putting them up, I believe, 4-3. Comes back offsides, right? Goes to penalties. Man U ends up winning. So we're going to have Man U versus Man City in the FA Cup final. Really excited about that. And then El Clasico. I mean, come on now. Real Madrid, Barcelona. You already know I was watching that. Real Madrid got a big win. They're winning that league. I mean, it's done now, especially with the win they got this weekend. Got to watch some great soccer. Got to watch some football in terms of spring games. Fun weekend. Fun weekend. Y'all, I'm watching sports. Ty talking EPO, yes, sir. I'm watching sports.
Listen, that's what I'm getting back to, man. I'm getting back to being a sports. I don't even like watching cable for real. If I'm not watching a movie, I'm watching YouTube, and on YouTube I'm watching like sports related stuff. Docuseries on high school football, recruiting documentaries, players in college that have their own channels and their daily lives and vlogs and stuff. So like getting back into sports is going to be like a big thing for me, especially in this stage of my life. With taking this step in this industry, like I want to be well versed in everything sports. So I'm about to be like you, man, just nothing but sports. I'm in a space now where that's all that the roomie wants to do, watch sports. So that's what we're gonna do, man. That's what we're gonna do. So I just got seen Pete Nakos. Shout out to Pete Nakos over at On3. Always a reliable source when it comes to guys entering the portal. Even with recruiting guys, being crystal ball and things of that nature, his takes are usually lead you in the right direction. So shout out to Pete Nakos. He says Clemson offensive tackle Zachariah Owens has entered the transfer portal. First thing that I saw is his ties with Coach Cap being one of his recruiters in 2022, 2023. So question, does Alabama go and take that look at the young man and see what he does? And I think with the offensive tackle situation, especially at left tackle, and offensive tackle depth in general, I think we're going to take a look at any quality offensive tackles that enter the portal. What you think, Ty?
Yeah, offensive tackle. I mean, that's just a real tough position. Really tough position to try and get in the transfer portal. Not saying it can't be done, but it's just tough, man, because you don't usually have a bunch of like principled, easy starting offensive tackles entering the transfer portal. So hopefully, Alabama gives him a look. We definitely need the depth there. Patriot Life with a great update saying, you guys, please keep the good vibes coming for Ginny. I talk to her daily. She has good days and bad days. We're certainly all praying, hoping the best. And definitely want to keep her in our thoughts and prayers. Thank you so much for the update, Patriot Life. That really does mean a lot to us. But I think Alabama will go after. No doubt about it. Offensive tackle and offensive line, man. Real tough position to really get in the transfer portal. You got to have a coach with a keen eye for talent, because you might have to do some development. You know what I mean? Like, you might get a guy who has high upside that you just don't know. Poetic says no F1 time. So here's a crazy story for you, Poetic. I don't have the picture. It's at my mom's house. But I have a picture of me, my dad, his car, my car, and we're out at Michael Schumacher's ranch. We'd go out there sometimes and kick it with Michael Schumacher because he had a ranch not far from us. His daughter, actually really big in equestrian, really big in the horse industry, very talented. But I've met Michael Schumacher a few times. For those of you who know Michael Schumacher, he was basically like, I think at one point he was the biggest name in F1.
Yeah, F1,
huge.
yeah.
And I remember asking him, I was like, man, you must have drove every car in the world. And for his daily driver, it was just like a Suburban, right? Like just a Chevy Suburban. And he looked at me and he gave me the most logical answer I've ever heard. Because I was like, oh, you were racing Ferrari. What Ferrari is your favorite that you just like jump in for like a fun driver? He looked at me, he's like, honestly, he's like, they're all cool. He's like, but once you've driven F1, nothing compares. Right. And I was like, you know what? That probably makes a lot of sense, right? Like that Ferrari is probably like a go-kart to you. You probably don't give a damn about that thing. You're talking about my favorite driver of all time. I'll have to get my mom to send me the picture, Poetic, and I'll send it to you. But yeah, he had a ranch not far from us, and we'd go out there and kick it with him. So I had a picture of my dad, myself, with Michael Schumacher. Great guy. Really liked him.
All right, y'all. It's another name. Y'all been, if you follow me on Twitter, and I don't know if y'all been paying attention, we already had Tristan Lyles. Y'all heard me talking about Tristan Lyles out of Central Phoenix City. A couple of guys out of Central Phoenix City. It's a guy that I'm probably going to be able to link up with this week, y'all, while I'm here in Atlanta. Out of Dutchtown High School here. Defensive lineman 26, defensive lineman Aiden Kane. Y'all remember I had him on. Y'all remember when I had Aiden on? Well, the stock is growing. It was some things that, not only us, I'm not going to sit here and act like we the only ones been saying it, but it was small things that when we talked to him during that interview, when we had him on for that segment, that we said if he worked on, he would definitely see his stock begin to grow and people start to notice him. Well, the young man is at every camp. Every camp you go to, you're going to hear the name Aiden Kane, defensive lineman. They got these defensive, offensive lineman 5-on-5 camps. You know how we got 7-on-7, but they got 5-on-5s now. And you see teams of defensive linemen and offensive linemen put together, and they do drills against each other. They do competition, and that's becoming a popular thing. So I like that the big guys are getting some recognition, but this young man in particular is one who initially a lot thought we're undersized, right? At 6'2", 245, 250 right now, going into his junior year. Something that I don't understand. 6'2", 250, 245 going into your junior year at D-line. You kind of got a hybrid D lineman sitting in your box right now. You get on him early. You start getting an early track on his development as far as his anatomical makeup and where he will fit in the scheme. You look at a guy like his size. We got a couple of those on the roster right now. And James Smith, Tim Keenan, not Tim Keenan, but Tim Smith, LT Overton. A bunch of guys who aren't tall and huge, but they're big because they're 6'2", 245, 255, and they can move like they're 230, and they can, move other objects as if they're 270. So you're getting that type of power and that type of drive with Aiden Kane, and he's done a lot of work in the lab on his technique. some of his rush moves are being put on display, and it just seems unfair when he's going against tackles in this class. Like he went against I forget the 5-star's name. A few weeks back, he went against California Power. They got like 6 or 7 5-star linemen, offensive and defensive linemen, on their 7-on-7 team, on their travel team. And he went against one of them, man. And I think that's the one that really created the buzz for him, because he started off in a bull, and when the lineman tried to engage, his chop and spin through was so smooth, man. I mean, just the way to get down into the chop and spin off, and the way he hooked with his elbow and didn't really hook, it was like a good. I mean, it was one of the things you see from like NFL talents, you know, something you've seen similar to what Dallas and Will Anderson was doing when they was at Bama. So I like to see his start growing in this whole camp season.
Yeah, I'm interested in Aiden Kane. I know you've been talking about him for quite some time. Really excited about his upside. And we have some people asking about Brandon Wilkins. I'm happy to see we're recruiting well. Ton of linebacker commits. Where's the defensive line? Well, Aiden Kane, we were just talking about that. Offensive line. Alabama's made a lot of headway for several top prospects. One thing we have to remember, though, is not only do you have a brand new offensive line coach, Cap was one of the last hires on this staff. So he's currently in an uphill battle against a lot of guys, such as an Oklahoma, such as a Georgia, such as all these schools that have far more continuity are able to, kind of jump out ahead. But from what we know, Cap is putting in great work. I would expect to see some big offensive line wins.
Sanders, Denton, like what was the other kid from Denton? Ty
Haywood.
Ty Haywood, Sanders, the other kid I was just talking about him. I forget his last name. Mdobi, Dad. I forget his name. Let me pull it up. I have my list right here.
Then you have Babaloa, who actually
there it is. Yes, him. Ty, if we can get Babaloa and either Sanders or Haywood, like a combination of the 2 out of the 3, I think we see Waldrop go ahead and be a Bama commit, even though Auburn's heavy on him, right? Auburn and Georgia are kind of in the lead, but I think a guy like Waldrop a commit with those guys. Offensive line is going to be good, though, because I think what's happening right now is you're seeing us probably go to the portal for offensive line quality experience to create depth, so that you give this offensive line under Coach Cap, who he's excited about this young group of offensive linemen. It's just with the time span that he has to work with to continue to develop them, it's been shortened because of the time he got hired and spring starting and then going into fall. So the most you can do is film work, send them to a lab to guys that's going to teach the technique properly, right? Networking that type of way. That's how you get into finding other linemen. And I think Coach Cap is doing the right thing. Now the linebackers, you got to look at most of these linebackers are labeled athletes, man. They just get recruited to Alabama as linebackers. So you look at these athletes. Yes, they might come as linebackers, but you never know. It might be a tight end switch on that side. It might be a defensive end. It might be a strong safety out of that linebacker group. Might be a running back out of that linebacker group. You mess around and some things might change, but it's a lot of athletes being recruited in this class, and Kalen DeBoer and his staff aren't recruiting to what we're traditionally used to. When you look at an outside linebacker, the size and the height and weight, he's really recruiting to help fit this scheme that Kane Womack is developing over there on the defense side. And offensively, he knows what he needs and what he likes. So I kind of like where we're sitting at for it to be not even a full 90 days into the job. Yeah.
And this is something I've continued to talk about is recruiting is relationships. And yes, NIL is here. NIL absolutely moves the needle, right? But relationships are still king. And I would argue, Smook, that today, in today's climate, relationships are more important than ever. And the reason I say that, how many kids do we see enter the transfer portal? Keep those relationships good. Yeah. You know what I mean? A kid could commit somewhere, and who knows? They might be back on your radar in a year or so. That relationship could pay massive dividends. So, I mean, you just look at all of this. Relationships are key. And what we do know is that Alabama's coaching staff is doing a great job at not only cultivating relationships, maintaining relationships, and they're all very positive. Very excited about that.
You know what's funny though? A lot of people don't realize like Georgia and the type of relationships that they built. This is years of Kirby Smart being at Georgia. You know, this is like it's players that haven't even talked to Kirby Smart, but because they played 3 or 4 years behind who's Kirby's last huge recruit, man? I can't even tell you. Like he recruits so many big names.
Yeah, but certainly not an issue.
You get him into the the Beaufort area and Mill Creek in Georgia or Atlanta, anywhere Atlanta, right? Anywhere greater Atlanta, Metro Atlanta. You get down in the South Georgia, you start getting in North Florida. Kirby Smart's name alone just allows you to have a relationship, right? Kalen DeBoer doesn't have that yet, you know. But let's look at it this way. The amount of ground that he's made up in the state of Alabama, which is probably one of the hardest places to lock down as far as recruiting, he's making great strides with a lot of the powers to be, the powerhouse schools and programs of this state. But he's also finding talent in these small 2A, 1A schools in these that have tough regions. A lot of athletes in the region that just spread out. They're far fewer and more, you know, as far as numbers, they're far and few. But in that region, you see a lot of talent. And he's going and building a lot of these relationships right as these programs are starting to take their programs more seriously. So it's like he's affecting not only the change of transition from Coach Saban, but the change of how the state of Alabama is being looked at with the type of quality recruits. I've been bragging about the class of 25 and 26 in-state talent for the past 3 or 4 months now, because you look at it. Go look at some of the recruiting boards. A lot of players from Alabama. I think ESPN 300 has like 14 or 15 players from Alabama in the top 300. If somebody can go check me, but I think it's 14 or 15 players, and it hasn't been like that tradition. We usually have a good, strong 5 or 6, but we're starting to see a lot more in-state kids in the state of Alabama. So Kalen DeBoer probably saw that, paying attention to that. He and Courtney Morgan, and also we're still able to go into Georgia and get talents like Luke Metz, Daryl Johnson, still able to go to California and get Abdullah, you know, got the wide receiver, Marcus Harris, got him right there on edge. You got guys like Juju Lewis, who's been committed to USC for a while now. Why is he making so many trips to Alabama? Unofficials at that. So it's something going on and something brewing. I'm just my confidence in the staff and their ability to recruit and the SEC is just continuing to grow week by week.
Yeah, this staff is going to be just fine. We just need to be patient. This is something we've continued to point out. A lot of talented prospects. Coach, always great to sit here and wrap it up with you, my man. Can't wait to hear your segment. Everybody in the Undefeated, y'all already know what time it is. It's time for the Smook Scoop. Roll Tide as always, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Coach, have a great segment, my man.
For sure, bro. Appreciate it. Roll Tide, my guy.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Hey, Undefeated. How y'all feeling this morning? It is Monday. Y'all already know I'm coming in with the energy. But before we get into it, man, y'all know I like to do my shout-outs. Like to give everybody their love. Thank y'all for pulling up. It's always a good time when we in here. Y'all know this look. When I had this look on my face, it's because we on one today. We are on one. We got the energy. We here for all the smoke. We here for all the football talk. We here for all the trash talk. All of it. It's Monday. We're gonna pop this week off crazy good. Shout out to my guy Darius. He said he coming in here. my boy Darius coming in here. Our resident closet Bama fan coming in, said he not trolling today. He want to talk some good football, and I'm all for that, Darius. Welcome in. It would be better if you was a fan funder, though, my dude. I'm telling you. If you just imagine this, Darius. Imagine the hype you'll get, right? Just walk with me real quick while I pour my slushy cranberry juice in here, right? Walk with me for a second. This is like Darius. Act like we at the Hyatt or something. We at one of them the West Ends. We having a Bama party, right? You know, because we luxury. That's what Bama fans do. We do it big. So we having one of them big time, you know, get-togethers. And Darius pulls up and says his name is like Malcolm on the list, right? And we're gonna be like, we ain't got no Malcolm. You know, he had to use his email to sign up. It's gonna say Darius Fountain. And I'm like, hey, y'all, Darius in the building. And everybody gonna be like, Darius? See, you don't want to be like that, Darius. You want to be like the Georgia fan that's subscribed and a member of Bama Football on YouTube. That's what you want to be known as. You could be the first one, bro. You could be the first one, the first closet Bama fan that's actually a fan funder on Bama Football on YouTube. You could get an emoji. I could be your manager. I could be your agent. I'll get you an emoji, bro. On everything. How y'all feeling today, man? That's my dude, man. Y'all gotta, hey, Darius be hanging in tough. I rock with Darius, man. That's my dude, man. How y'all feeling today, though? Shout out to the cranberry juice. Y'all knew. Actually, this that cran apple raspberry I was telling y'all about. This the one y'all need to be on. Everybody in the chat showing love today. I see y'all. Y'all go ahead and run them emojis up. Let's crank this up, man. Roll call. How y'all feeling? Where you watching from? Where you watching from today? I know it's Monday. Y'all already at work. I'm at the noon hour. Where you watching from right now? Let me know. Let me know. Jay Jackson in the building, my brother. What? I wish you could have came for the A-Day. I'm still talking about A-Day. It's been 2 weeks since A-Day now, ain't it? Or a week and a half. Davin Jones in the chat. Marquita, what's good? Drank that Crimson Kool-Aid. You already know. You already know. Bama is the best day for all fans. Hey, let me tell you. I'm telling y'all, it's the best. It's the best. It's the best fan base, man. Rome, Georgia in the house. I feel you. Brandon in the house. Fruithurst. What is that? Fruit thirst. Wait, what are we talking about? Ricky, what are we talking about? Let's get into this smoke. Poetic injustice. No, look. I ain't starting that today. I'm just here to answer. You know what I'm saying? I got the answers today. Biloxi in the building. Dwight, my brother. Nashville in the building. Nashville, Tennessee. Don't say that too loud around Coach Sean. Well, he actually liked Nashville, so that's my brother. He gonna be out of the loop this week. He work got him tied up heavy this week, but he will be back. I think Thursday or Friday. Coach Sean will be back, so we're gonna try to do our best to fill in. Y'all know Coach Sean is one of the staples in this doggone on this team, man. He's one of the pillars on this team, so I feed off of brother's energy a lot. Happy Earth Day, y'all. Of all the planets I've ever been on, Earth is absolutely my favorite. Time out, Ruben. What other planets have you been on? That's the real question. And secondly, are you NASA? Just asking. Antoine, in Jasper, Alabama. Hey, go pick up Auntie Janet so we can link up this weekend, man. Huntsville in the building. Let's go. My boy Louie in the chat. Let's go. Lax. What's good, my boy from Boaz, Alabama. Phoenix, Arizona from my sister Ebony. How you feeling? Let's go. You in Georgia, Megan? What part of Georgia? I'm in the A. Warner Robins, Georgia in the building. Article 1, Section 1, B2 Alpha of the Troll Code. I feel you on that one. Austin French is in the building, man. What's good? Sean and Katy, Texas. Oh, you on that road, bro? Be safe out there, man. You know we are praying for you while you're on that road. John M says front porch drinking coffee in Charlotte. Man, Charlotte is a beautiful city, man. I love Charlotte. Joseph Davidson in the chat. Nicole Covington, my sister, is in the chat. Davin Jones from Birmingham. I'm going to be in Birmingham in about 4 hours, my brother. K Spray, Linville, Alabama. St. Louis in the building. Max Tree down here. Hey, another Nashville. If y'all in Nashville, y'all need to be linking up. We need Bama fans holding it down. Elbows locked tight. You know what I'm saying? Side to side, arm in arm, hand in hand. Ready to defend the tie. You know what I'm saying? Riverdale in the building. Okay. Dontario, you right around the street. We was in Riverdale yesterday. Birmingham, I see you. Chat Town, let's go. Caitlin in the building. What's good, Caitlin? Caitlin, you know we ain't let you live it down. You missed A-Day. We know you had stuff going on, but girl, you supposed to have been there, Caitlin. Supposed to been there so we could witness that mirror. We had, but people was ready to talk, man. Dothan in the building. What's good, man? Fort Myers, Florida. I think, are we going to Fort Myers? Oh, yeah, I might not be on Friday. I'm being forced to take a break. My kids, we got some stuff going on with not a bad thing, but trying to do some things, link up with the kids. Hold on. Give me 2 seconds. Hold on, buddy. I'm gonna let you out. Y'all want to say hey to Art real quick? Come here, Art. Everybody want to say hey to you real quick. Come here. Come in. Everybody want to say hey to Art. Come on up. Come on. Up. Oh, you gotta go outside, don't you? This is my buddy, y'all. Fort Myers, Florida in the building. Go ahead, buddy. Go ahead. Go. Go ahead. Big self. All right, y'all. I'm sorry. I got a new buddy. He's spoiled. He can't do nothing without me. I really don't want to do nothing without him. Living in Virginia, Randy. I just left Virginia not too long ago. I left Virginia to move back down here. And y'all, for the record, I gotta pause the music. I need y'all to understand. I am not from Virginia. Okay? I know Kyle told the story about, me coming down. I moved back down here from Virginia. I am from Alabama. I am from Phoenix City, Alabama. I was born in Georgia because I was a military brat, but I was brought home from the hospital to Phoenix City, Alabama. I only lived in Georgia for 2 years of my life, and that was as a military brat on Fort Benning. Then when I moved back to Fort Benning as an adult, but as a child, I am a Bama boy. You get what I'm saying? So this narrative that I'm from Virginia, stop it. I do not claim Virginia. I'm not from Virginia. I'm sorry. That is not the state that I want to claim. I loved it up there for the time that I was there, but Virginia is not Bama, man. Virginia is not football. Virginia does not live, breathe, and eat this Crimson Tide stuff. So y'all stop it. They don't barbecue like we do. They don't even speak to people like we do in the South. You know what I'm saying? I would have thought I was in the olden times up there, but down here, at least I can get a hey, how you doing? You get what I'm saying? Good morning. You don't get that in Virginia. They weird up there. So I had to let y'all know I ain't from Virginia. Definitely from Phoenix City, Alabama. Definitely a Bama boy. Hey, but let's get into it, y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. We're going to get into some topics right after we run this commercial. Y'all already know we got to give some love to our sponsors. Shout out to Residence Inn, Ocean City, Maryland. Shout out to Rogue Shop. And shout out to Demetrius Maynard of the Maynard Group, my big brother, man, doing what they do to support the channel. Kyle, take it away.
Special thanks to our sponsor, Residence Inn, Ocean City, Maryland. Guests can book at residenceinnoc.com. Use the promo code LPR for special Bama football pricing up to 20% off. Also, go to therogueshop.com. Use the promo code BAMA. You get legal CBD. For me, personally, I like the topical oil. You know how intense my workouts are, right? So I like the topical oil. I like to rub that on my back, whatever, after those cinder blocks. So go to their website, cruise down, look through their website, and definitely check out rogueshop.com. And like I said, I like the topical. Again, the promo code is BAMA. Also, think about becoming a fan funder right here on Bama Football on YouTube. Become a part of the Undefeated as low as $2.99 a month. That's 10 cents a day. How do you do this? Make sure you're logged into your account. This is on a computer. You can also do this on your phone and look for the tab that says membership. Once you click membership, you can see different options. You can see an upgrade button right there to the right if you want to go through the different levels. We have fan funder videos from the staff right here at Bama Football on YouTube. Very easy to navigate. Let us know if you have questions inside the comment box when trying to upgrade or renew your fan funder membership right here on Bama Football on YouTube. And of course, if you want to rock that undefeated gear, check out our merch store located at the bottom of the videos. We appreciate Patriot Life, Cynthia, Antoine, Caitlin, and to everybody else that supports us right here on Bama Football on YouTube.
Much love to everybody that supports the channel, man. We definitely appreciate y'all. Y'all see, I try to highlight all the hashtag RIOMBs or whatever's on my during the segment. That's what I love about y'all, man. Y'all know what time it is when we get to that, man. Our time to have some fun. That's CBD, folks. Hey, Ebony. Ebony. Oh man, I was looking for Moon Rocker. Where Moon Rocker? He didn't catch it today. We rubbing it or whatever. Yes, we definitely rubbing it or whatever. You know what I'm saying? That's what we do. We got to do what we got to do to make it do what it do, baby. So listen, some of that legal CBD. Love it, man. I love it. Y'all going crazy. I told that. Y'all crazy, man. I love it. I'm here for it. But let's talk Bama football. Let's talk Bama recruiting. Let's talk about this weekend, some of the things that I was able to get tangled up in. and found out some information. Not much of anything as far as guys committing to us or guys leaning our way, but the Rivals camp was the talk of the town when it came to the recruits this weekend. A lot of big name recruits was there. As a matter of fact, let me go pull my list up. Let me pull this list back up. I can't find my list, y'all. I had a list of all the guys that was there. I thought I had it segmented out. I'm sorry, y'all. I messed that up. Screwed that up. But two big names from Alabama, two big name Alabama commits that were there this weekend. Duke Johnson and Luke Metz, both linebackers committed to the 2025 class here at Alabama. Both went crazy. Duke didn't really get a lot of opportunities. I'm gonna tell you this why. People are starting to know who Duke is, right? People, if they didn't know before, they started finding out real quick once he committed to Bama, right? And then I think now that you turn on the film and you look at Daryl Johnson's his work, his build up, what he can do on both sides of the ball at that, you start to see how crazy dangerous this young man can be, right? But I looked at Luke Metz and that clip, and that wasn't the only clip that I was able to see, but that one clip where he just drove Henderson back about 7 yards before Henderson could gain any type of like pushback. Luke Metz has this, he has a size about himself. Like he has this ability to generate power in small spaces, right? And I think the spacing between these guys is like maybe 3 yards for spacing. And that just goes to tell you, like, leverage, momentum, all of that drive, it matters. And he's technically sound. One of the first things that we talked about with both of these guys, they have instinct, but they're technically sound on their pass rushes, on their dropbacks, when they're in coverage. Like, you can see, look at where their eyes are at. Luke in coverage doesn't look at a guy's hands or anything like that. Early in that first phase of the route, he's looking at hips. If he gets extended past phase one, he's locked in on hips, and he's staying in phase. And he has reaction ability to stay with guys. So Luke, man, Duke had a nice look. Just speaking of him. What's up, boy? Tell Bama Nation what's up.
Hey, what's going on?
Yeah, y'all see my boy? That boy in class, man. What you doing? Get to class, my boy. Out here embarrassing folks' children and stuff. How was it, man? Tell the people how it was. You can tell them real quick. They can hear you.
Yeah, that was good. Getting out there, support, represent the Bama. So it was good. Me and Duke Johnson out there. So, yep.
Who else out there caught your eye though? Who else should I be working on next to get that commitment?
There's a good tight end out there. I don't know his name though, but he was cooking some folks.
Yeah, I seen. It wasn't Lincoln. It was the other one. I know who you're talking about. Your boy too, Caden Proctor. Caden Prothrow. Yeah. Let's get to work on that. I'm gonna catch up with you later, though, man. All right, man. Roll time, my boy. Yep. You see what I'm saying? My little youngin, they hit me up. My little youngin. Yeah. Patriot Life. Much love, my boy, for the $10 super chat, man. $10 super chat from the president of the undefeated. I'm gonna make sure I recognize my boy, because I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm gonna be straight up. I nominated Patriot Life on the backside. I'm just in the back office. You know what I'm saying? I was like, hey, it was actually the day on A-Day. Me and Kyle, we were walking. I was like, man, we need to give Patriot Life a staff position or something, like, because he was walking with us as if he was part of the staff, and it just felt so natural. And I don't know, man, it just felt right. And I kind of put the bug in Kyle's ear. And Kyle, not Kyle, but Sean was laughing about it. He was like, man, you for real trying to, because I did it in another chat too, when I used to just be in the chat. and I started it with different people, and I was like, man, you need to be this, you need to be that. So I felt like this community was more together than that one, and I felt like it'd be cool to have it like every season or so, you know, or every however long the tenure is. But shout out to the president of the Undefeated Patriot Life with the $10 super chat. He said, be good, brother. Hey, much love, man. But yeah, y'all see my little youngin. Hey, I was so proud to see Luke do that, man, because a lot of people sleeping on my boy, trying to talk about a 3-star. My boy, Luke, every bit of a 4-star, 5-star that you can put his film up against anybody in the class, anybody at his position in the class, and there is no separation. If anything, if the separation is there, it's because he's technically the better guy, and he plays in a region that has talent. So I don't know. That's my boy Luke, though. Shout out to my boy Luke. Yeah, y'all see it. That's my boy, man. Luke and Duke. Right. Don't go together. But think about it. You got an opportunity that QB Reese and Sterling Dixon might be the starters, right? And then you got a guy like Luke spelling them as a freshman, possibly with Justin O, QB Reese, Sterling Dixon, Luke Metz in that group. And then on the edge for the next 2 years, possibly, you're going to have guys like Quay Rusar being the front runner. You got Yanzi Pierre. You got who else coming off the edge? Keanu Colt probably going to be there another year, right? What other edges we got? Abdullah Sanders going to be coming off the edge. Miles Johnson going to be an edge rusher. We got a lot of edge rushers. Noah Carter. Come on, man. Like, and all of these dudes are same. You talking about build, same makeup, same skill sets as far as being able to cover and get to the quarterback. Uber athletic guys that can play on the offensive side or the defensive side with power. Like, they're gonna get the Bama and Baloo gonna get a hold of them in that weight room, and it's gonna be up. Jordan Renard, another young guy. I keep forgetting his name, and y'all going Hunter Osborne, another defensive line. Like, these Antonio Coburn's committed right now. Like, it's going to get crazy. The more you see this staff be able to go out and get guys that fit the mold of what they're trying to do. And that's what I think makes Kalen DeBoer so successful, because he doesn't necessarily need a certain type of player to be successful in what he wants to do on either side of the ball schematically. You know, and he seems to find defensive coordinators that kind of accentuate or they kind of accent what he likes to do on the offensive side with his philosophy. So I think it's a good thing. But another guy that I saw had some good reps, had one bad rep, but had some great reps. Caden Protho. We saw some reps from him. Somebody that I talked to this weekend, and I ended up getting some clips from him. Let me see. Can I post these right now? All right, T.I. Mims was at a camp this past weekend, a 7-on-7 tournament. And there was a play made by this young man. Oh my God. Okay, y'all. Y'all want me to share? I'll share. I promise. I ain't gonna leave y'all hanging like that. I'm gonna just share this one clip. From my guy T.I. Mims, right? 4-star wide receiver. I want y'all to look at it. And I want y'all to tell me. I want y'all to tell me y'all thoughts. I want y'all to give me y'all honest opinion. Me personally, I don't think this young man deserved to get this done to him. Hey, but things happen for a reason, you know. And when God has a plan for something, you know, I don't like to question. I'm just saying. That's all I'm saying. And when God has a plan for something, whether that's you're on the receiving end or the back end, here you go. All right, hold up. So T.I. Mims, I'm gonna show y'all real quick. T.I. Mims is the slot receiver right here. This is T.I. Mims. This is the 4-star we had on with us last week. He's this is him. Let me. As a matter of fact, let me go to this layout right here. I like this one. All right, let me move this banner. Let me move the banner to overlay real quick. This isn't the Rivals camp. This is a 7-on-7 passing tournament. 7-on-7 tournament that T.I. Mims was at this weekend. I want y'all to check this out. Look at him at the slot. Look like they're trying to have some type of bracket coverage. I don't really get too much into like the schematics of all this when they do a 7-on-7. 707 is just good workout, competitive working out, right? I like what it produces. I like the highlights that it produces. I like the ability that it showcases for defenders and offensive players. But it's things like this that make me mad. It makes me not mad. It makes me feel sorry for the defenders. Check this out. Look at the release. Climb. Oh my Jesus. Do I need to run that back? For the people in the back, do I need to run that back? It's a reason. Listen, it's a reason why this man is jumping, right? It's a reason why this man is jumping right here. Look at him. He knew it. But Darius Fountain could have threw this pass, and it don't matter how it was thrown. It was going to be a touchdown. Look at that route. Look, man. Look at the lean. Look at the lean. I want y'all to see this. This is why I'm such a big fan. All his routes, you cannot tell where he's going because everything looks like it's committed to that route. So this press into the ceiling, you see him pull up just slightly right before he starts making his break. And this wasn't even a push route. This was just to kind of decide what's happening here. Let me make the middle of the defense react. So you had two unders, right? Two under routes over here. Whether they were digs or quick outs, whatever. They were under routes. Quick slant, and then you had like a sit out. You know what I'm saying? Man, you see, oh my God. This is look at the extension on the plant though. Leaning. I wish I could slow it down. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. That boy nasty, man. That boy nasty. I'm telling y'all. Yeah. So that's one of the clips I got. I will be posting that bad boy. I'm making an edit for the youngin. I want to put together stuff. I'm starting to do that. You know, that's what I'm starting to do. Put these clips together for these kids and stuff. So when y'all start seeing them featured on the channel, just know we getting all the inside scoop, y'all. Lean stick, some serious. Let me tell you. Y'all like that screen setup for when we do film review? Because I could do it to where me and the guest, we both, you know, either sitting at the top or the bottom. If y'all like that setup better, then that's what was changing to. So yeah, Bay Monet, what about him? That's where we headed. We gotta go see T.I. play, right? We gotta go see T.I. DB was going to but look, that's one of them plays, man. You just kind of just walk off. Afterwards, you don't look at nobody. You don't expect nobody to say that to you. You already know what happened. You ain't trying to discuss it. There's no need for any further discussion. We're kind of dealing with it at that point, right? So, yeah, that's some of the stuff from this weekend in recruits. Juju Lewis, you already know that's heating up. Dawson Merritt, that's one. We've had him on the show already. As a matter of fact, I actually have to talk with him and the family tomorrow. So I would, if that's something that you all are looking forward to, I think I could get them on tomorrow. Y'all saw Shamari Earls made his commitment to South Carolina. They made a tough push for my boy. But it's only a verbal. Still plans to make some more visits to Bama. I think the DB room with some of the rumors is starting to heat up. Dejon Lee, that's really heating up. You're talking about a disciplined young man who has a disciplined camp around him. You won't get much budge or influence over him to move outside of their plan. Their family has a plan, and he's one of those young men that he values the thoughts of the people in his support circle. So I respect him for not, being pressured and being settled in whatever his decision is, whether it's Bama or not. Quality young man, is very well spoken, like a lot of the kids that we brought on this show. But definitely looking to have him on soon. Also, who else I owe y'all? Zamir's been quiet. Nashawn Montgomery, y'all know we was able to talk with him for a little while. Nashawn Montgomery at camps going crazy, still making plays. If y'all watch anything on YouTube, OT7, their 7-on-7 camps, they pull a lot of publicity, and Nashawn is really out there dogging it right now. He's out there dogging it. What other Bama recruits y'all want to talk about before we get out of here, y'all? Isn't Julio from Foley, Baldwin County? I think he was from. Was Julio from Foley? Yeah, he was from Foley, but I think he was more like, I don't know, man. Is that Baldwin County? Y'all let me know. Well, that's good because our staff seems to High Point family. Cynthia, it's the small things that matter in recruiting. And this staff understands that. And we're seeing that with the type of recruits and the style that we're getting them in. Jackson Lloyd. What about Jackson Lloyd? Not much buzz about it, but there is a lot of names starting to circulate, y'all. Not much buzz about Jackson Lloyd. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, is that the running back, the 2025 running back, or is that the defensive lineman? Jackson Lloyd, not defensive lineman, offensive lineman. Not much buzz about him, but there's some things heating up. And I think that kid's out in the West Coast, so a lot of his ties to this staff are just basic, familiarity with this with the team, historically. But and I'm trying to find something now, see if I can give y'all some better details. Okay, so I'm thinking about the right kid, 6'7", 290, the big kid out of California. Yeah, not much buzz about him coming to Bama. Of course, the buzz about him is up there, but definitely would be a plus to add that's a sizable tackle, man. You talking about another Caden Proctor size, Caden Proctor like build for offensive tackle position. If we could secure one like him, that makes me wonder what the direction is on Sanders and Hayes and Mduma. I forget the guy's name. It's not Mduma. Mdumba is the kid from Canada. Babaloa. It makes me wonder what the direction is. Maybe that group text I was telling y'all about, that super 25, that super team group text that some of these recruits are creating and starting up. Maybe this is all part of the process. What if? Imagine this. Let's take another walk. We back in the skybox, y'all. We back in the skybox. Because we Bama fans, that's how we do. We real sedity and professional. Listen. What if we come to early signing day in December of this year, right? And there's like 14 5-stars, right? Sitting out there still uncommitted. Bama still, maybe Bama's in, maybe. And they just start knocking off Bama commitments back to back to back to back. And we go from having 11 commits to 23 and 14 of them being 5-stars. What y'all gonna do? And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. But what would y'all do with that type of class under Caleb DeBoer for his first class? You know what that means to me in this day and age? Especially in recruiting with NIL? I'm telling y'all, man, that would be crazy. If Caleb DeBoer can come out of this 25 class, his first full class, with a top 3, that should be scary for the rest of college football. Not only was he able to do it without getting top 10 class at Washington or Fresno and be competitive and win games, now he's at Alabama and he's able to secure top 3, top 5 classes. Like, not miss a beat. Coach Saban, the last recruiting class Coach Saban left with was a number 3 class, if I'm not mistaken. The first year Coach Saban didn't have a top 5 class, which was 2019 was the first class he had that wasn't in the top 5. As far as recruiting rankings, I think 2019, that was it. I think they was like number 9 or number 6 or number 9, something like that. That was the first time we had seen that in a long time for the Alabama to not have, at least, no matter who it was, we just knew we would end up with a top 5 class. If Caden DeBoer could come in and start his tenure off with that, oh my God. Oh my God. I'll take a top 5 any day. Cut glass with these nips. What time out? Who's cutting? Whose nipples? What are we talking about? Why are we talking about nipples? I'm taking a mowing break. I already walked. Hacker. Listen, cutting grass is probably some of the most one of the most blissful activities I've come to like. And it's crazy because I have allergies and I'm allergic to fresh cut grass. But I will dope up on some doggone allergy medicine and go out there and cut some grass. I love cutting grass. Push more. I'm the type of guy. We are too. Hey, shout out to my boy Big Baby. Shout out to my boy Big Baby, man. Big Baby, boy. That my boy be on it. He got the Mobile area on lock for me. Anything I need to know realistic in that Mobile area, he gonna tell me. Shout out to my boy Big Baby. But he was just texting me about the Bama and Saraland. I forget what school it is that T.I. goes to, but when they play Saraland. Oh man, I'm gonna be at that one. That's one of the ones we're gonna bring the Friday night lights to y'all. We're gonna bring that to y'all. We might have to do like a couple of lives that night because that's gonna be a big one. I would decorate my garbage can with roses. You're welcome to cut mine anytime. Please don't. Y'all tripping. But nah, y'all, that's really much of the segment today, y'all. Like I said, we got business to handle today. Gotta get on the road, gotta get to Birmingham and back here before the segment tonight. So tonight we're coming with some reality or reach. We coming with some more recruit talk. Like I said, buzz is coming now. It's the middle of the day. I'm telling y'all, man, this channel is going to keep growing. Right now, y'all kind of see us in transition mode, trying to catch our wind from all the things that were happening leading up to A-Day. Also, as we, we're experiencing this spring portal, it's new territory. Y'all know I don't really cover the portal as much. I leave that up to Ty and Jance. Those guys, they be on top of the portal. Kyle will touch on it every now and then, but I'm more so into the recruiting and the breakdown of what the team is doing now and what we have coming to the roster and what's on the roster. Same with Coach Sean, more so of a take it as the day comes, react as the day comes. So we got a spread out team here that's really trying to get you all the good information, solid information, authenticity over above all is how your boy Coach Smook rocking. So with that being said, man, I appreciate y'all for hanging out with your boy today. Don't forget to follow me on all my socials at Coach Smook on all platforms. I mean everywhere, y'all. If y'all go to Twitter right now, the buzz is creating. And once again, because we're who we are, we're going to keep stepping up to the plate and knocking them over the fence. I don't care how you put it. Real is going to win every time. Real and authenticity will win every time. That's the message for today. Authenticity and real will win every time. So if you go out here and you be authentic, some people may not like you, some people will. Some businesses may not want to do business with you, some businesses will. But as long as you're authentic, that doesn't bother you. That doesn't matter. You find your way and you thrive in it. You thrive in it because you're authentic. You don't have to change to meet, expectations. Your you is what allows you to meet those expectations in the first place. So why change it up for others? You get what I'm saying? Especially if it's not going to, you get what I'm saying? So with that being said, y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day, man. I will see y'all this evening. I want to say we might be going at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so 6 Central Standard Time, or it might be 7 Central. But I know we got Coach Jay popping it off tonight, right? Then we also will have myself after Coach Jay. We only have 2 tonight, so we might do an hour with Coach Jay. Then we join together for another half hour, so an hour and a half total with Coach Jay. Then I'll carry an hour after he gets off with me, and we'll see where we go from there, y'all. We'll see where we go from there. What's up with Merrill? I don't know, man. Merrill likes to break his phone. Rocket Town. He don't. I can't tell you how many phones Jake Merrill had since we met, and we met in February, March timeframe, right? We met one time, like not in person, but we've met. That's when he got introduced to the team, and he's had like 4 phones because he done broke his phone that many times. So hopefully my boy's straight, man. I know he was busy with work, but keep him in your prayers. He was transitioning between Washington and Florida, handling some family stuff. So keep them in your prayers, man, just like you do with everybody else in the chat, in the family, just like our fan funders, just like our sponsors. Everybody just keep everybody uplifted, man. We all about positivity, man, and growth. So I appreciate y'all for hanging out. Tomorrow's segment will definitely be more direct about some recruits I want y'all to check out. I got a list, man. I got a list. I'm gonna get this whiteboard together now that I'm getting settled in. I'm gonna get this list up for y'all. I might put the list up like right here behind me. I think I might put the whiteboard up right here in the. I might just sit the whiteboard next to Darius. Wait, no, Darius be sitting right there. I'm gonna sit the whiteboard. Darius, you mind if I set the whiteboard up next to you up here? I'm just asking. I don't want to. I know it's some seats open next to you. Well, I don't know this year. This gonna be it's gonna be packed out all home game. But Darius, do you mind if we get this whiteboard set up next to you up there? What you think, Darius? Oh yeah, hey Jake. You know I like Jake Merrill because me and him could dialogue a lot. Him being a defensive guy playing in the secondary, me being a wide receiver / QB guy playing on that side, we dialogue good. I think our film sessions really were set up to take off. Ebony, don't be telling folks my business. Don't be telling folks. I'm only all right, y'all. So just so y'all know, I'm in Atlanta because a lot of business that I'm having to do right now outside of Bama football on YouTube is in Atlanta. It's literally either within 20-30 minutes driving distance of Atlanta or it's in Atlanta. A lot of the opportunities that I've been afforded on the content creation side are in Atlanta, and they don't have to do with Bama football on YouTube. You know, they didn't necessarily stem from this. It's just, you know, opportunities as a content creator. And a lot of content creators that I was dealing with before I came to Bama football on YouTube are in Atlanta. So there's an opportunity for some major things to happen for Coach Smoot. And I want to be able to use that and tie that into what I do here with Bama football on YouTube, with the graphic editing, video editing, things of that nature. We're actually making a lot of connects with some agents and things of that sort for the network. You get what I'm saying? So that we can continue to maintain access and have access to former Bama players, their teammates, all of that stuff. So we're working in the background. We're doing what we got to do amidst of all the confusion and all of the shots being thrown out there. Coach Smoot gonna be authentic, and at the end of the day, that's what we're gonna do, man. We're gonna preach authenticity. So I appreciate everybody for hanging out, man. I'm gonna close this segment out with a much love. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Me and you must never part. All that stuff. Color purple. You know what I'm saying? And with everybody going out on this Monday, make sure you make it count, man. Make everything count. Make every move count. It's the start of the week. You know, we halfway through the first day of the work week. Let's finish strong, and I will see y'all later. And I'm gonna leave y'all with a big old. Let me change the music before I do this. I gotta do it the right way. I ain't been doing it the right way. Let me get to it. I'm gonna leave y'all with a big old roll tide. Roll. Y'all have a good day, man. I'll catch up with y'all on the next.